Okay. Thank you. We have some minutes, or?
The first thing we have, yes, we have some minutes, sorry. I pulled out those June 5th ones. Matt,
Okay.
that you and I were going back and forth on.
Gotcha.
I
Just
didn't get
give
to,
them
I didn't
another-
get to finish.
Okay.
So I sent you guys May 15th, May 24th, May 31st, and May 31st.
Okay. Do I have a motion, or if you want to wait, I can.
Quick check. Pretty sure.
Well, I make a motion
This
to
isn't-
accept those minutes. I
Okay.
went through what you emailed them.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Discussion, or errors, or omissions, or anything? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. In favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I have some, just for our next meeting, I'll get some old executive session minutes that I think are releasable. I was able to go through the file. I think these issues have been closed out. So
Mhm.
at our next meeting, I'll photocopy them, get them to you guys. Some of them go pretty far back.
Yeah.
So we'll clean up some of those.
Okay.
And some are for, not for release, so I'll try to note them, releasable, non-releasable.
Yep. Okay.
I think those are Greg's signature. Meeting minutes.
There you go. Okay, first order of business tonight is we have a public hearing on the fire department and some fees, and,
I have the public hearing notice here for you, Charlie.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I'll just read it, and said, take notice that the Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing on Monday, September 18th, 2017, at 6:35 PM in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, Henry Woods Building, 40 West Street, Barry, Mass, for the purpose of increasing fees for fire prevention activities that fall under Mass General Laws 148 and 527 at CMR 1 and the Town of Barry Code. Persons wishing to comment may do so at that time. The board will consider written comments received prior to the hearing. The meeting room is handicapped accessible. Persons requiring reasonable accommodation should contact the town administrator's office in advance, and it's signed by Fay. And I guess you're on. You're here because Bob is on guard duty, is that
Yes.
correct?
He's on his military duty for the weekend of the week, so he asked me to fill in his shoes, so I'm doing the best I can. The fee increase is to better cover the costs associated with the different permits and inspections that we currently do. The current assessment of the administration role, from the application to the phone calls, to actually performing the inspections and whatnot. Fees better reflect the current costs, and also the surrounding towns have its costs as well.
Okay. And what is, and specifically, which fees do you wish to increase?
The chief is asking a number of them across the board. So the smoke detector CO would raise from 25 to 50. The flammable gas underground permit and inspection fee would go from 25 to 50. Flammable gas above ground, again, 25 to 50. The fuel storage above ground, 25 to 50. Fuel storage underground, 25 to 50. And the tank trucks, so under 120 gallons, that remains at $25.
Mhm.
Anything above 120 gallons would be $50. And the underground tank removal inspection fee would be $50, increase from the 25.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I just had one question.
Yep.
Are we keeping the oil burner and oil tank permit fees at $25 a piece because they're generally done at the same time? So it's about the equivalent of a $50.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Okay, do you have any?
Nope.
Okay, any other questions, or? Okay,
Only one question, just almost maybe for the record.
Yeah.
When was the last time we reviewed and adjusted these fees? Do you get even a ballpark?
I think they were, the chief and I looked it up, it's been, like 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we looked it up.
As long as I can remember.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's why I thought it was just worth mentioning so people understand this isn't something we're planning on doing every 2 years.
okay.
I'd make a motion to accept the change in permit fees as
So-
presented.
Second the motion.
Okay, discussion, any other comments or anything? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. So I guess we're all set.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
thank you for coming in.
Thanks for taking the time.
Okay, with public comments, did anybody have anything that they'd like to bring up with the board at this time? We've got a number of issues anyway going on, so if if you have comments going on, we can deal with them as well. Yep.
Well, I just have a question, is that, I thought there was going to be some discussion tonight about Seven Hills in regards to,
Well,
I don't see it on here, I was wondering maybe some.
we're gonna be talking somewhat about it, I think, in the administrator's report. And,
Okay,
we'll be doing that, yeah, we've got more discussion to do.
it's a deep subject,
What?
it's a deep subject,
It's a very deep subject.
yes,
Probably deeper than it needs to be, but it's a deep subject.
yes.
Okay, Jim?
Yeah, I'd just like to have one issue I have, and it seems rather funny that it's taking so long to get their new building finished, wired, and done,
Yep.
so they can get into it. It's a new addition, I mean, new thing in the building. What's taking so long? Why is it such a big holdup?
I understand the way it's been explained to me, and maybe you can speak to it, but there's a problem with charter and what they are supposed to be doing. And we have been hounding and hounding. And I'm not sure why they seem to be coming up with reasons why they can't. And otherwise, I understand it's ready to go. Is that
Yes.
your understanding of it?
I'll speak to that. So this goes back all the way to March was basically when this whole process started, that they were going to start the process of trying to get the fiber line into the building. And I guess it was talked about back and forth, and then some point, I guess in May or June, basically Charter just kind of fell off. They stopped being responsive, and there wasn't there wasn't really a lot of follow up. So when I got on, it was about a month in. I was notified of this issue that was really holding things up. I got in touch with Senator Berthium's office, Steve Brewer. I was able to get them back to the table. We've renegotiated this finally today. I got a firm commitment on a price for the connection, and tomorrow they're supposed to have the contract documents to me to sign.
Okay.
Just
Jim?
one question, is that gonna increase the price of what it was originally when they
Yep.
first started to do it?
Yep. The price that was quoted was basically the price that we settled on.
Okay.
At first, they wanted to raise it because I guess their fees structure had changed.
Really?
But we ran it up through management and
Mhm. I'm
got the
curious.
lower price. We got the lower price point approved. There was some discrepancy as far as the scope of work.
All right.
That was a point of contention that delayed it a little bit, but I think we're at the point now where we're ready to move forward as long as they provide us a contract to sign.
I was just curious, because here's a building that was dedicated $3.5 million.
On another-
Dedicated already.
Mhm.
And
On
you
another-
can't even get into it.
Yep. On another end of this is that once we sign a contract by contractual terms, they have 120 days to do the work.
Okay.
I've already kind of spoke with the legislators involved to make sure that doesn't take 120 days, that the day that we sign this contract, it's on the schedule to be done.
If it takes longer than that, I'd find another supply, if, I mean, it was very feasible, but if
Dealing,
it's not.
this whole process has already basically put
Okay.
them on notice in my book when it comes up to renewal.
All right, that's
Yep.
what I was driving at, because I mean, this is a waste. I mean, they can't even use it, they can't even
Right.
get into it.
Right.
And I feel sorry for
Yeah.
John and everybody else that's in that department, with a new building they can't even use.
I share your frustration.
Yeah, I think,
I don't think I'm alone in that.
yep. Oh, I know you're not alone, I'm not too,
Sorry, Joe.
yeah, I'm not too pleased with them on this, and they've got a contract with the town that comes up at some point, so. Sam?
You know, I'm speaking from the private sector.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have thought that quantity of business that this town provides a charter organization, it would be just good public relations for them to get it done yesterday and, excuse me, and stop screwing this town around. So, that's from the private sector.
Yep.
Now, if the public, I don't know how you guys do it,
I'll tell you this,
but it
if there was
seems
a,
pretty screwed up.
if there was a contract renewal on the table right now, it would probably be done.
Excuse me?
If there was a contract renewal on the table between us and them, they wouldn't have taken this long.
But, and also, it might be gratis as well.
Yeah, I think this is certainly one issue when the cable contract is up, and we're one of a whole bunch of cities and towns in it, but I think this is something that will be remembered, I can assure you on that. You know, it's, they have the cable contract for the town, plus the town does a lot of business and so on, and,
But from what I understand, just because they're the provider, nobody else can come in and be a substitute provider because they have some proprietary issues in regards to their wiring.
yeah,
So-
yeah.
So I don't know if we really have any
Well, we do when
strength.
we do when the contract comes up. And unfortunately, it's not right now, but, I think, and it seems like the bigger this cable company has gotten, the more obstinate they have become, just like every other big company. And they're, the second largest or cable provider in the nation. They're big, and, anyway.
Well, thank you.
Yep. Okay, we have a continuation of the poll petition for Adams Road, and I believe we have an update on that right now.
Yeah, so National Grid has formally pulled their petition on that. There's going to be some changes that they're going to propose and reapply for their poll petition on that road.
Okay, they're withdrawing it.
They are withdrawing it formally.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Are they withdrawing it, or are the people,
National Grid is withdrawing the application.
are they gonna be, they're gonna be redoing
They're
it?
gonna be redoing it, I guess because of some of the concerns that were brought up as far as the width of the road. They're going to be seeking a few easements on private property. There might still be some public, some public approvals in some of the wider spots, but at least the narrower spots where there was concerns about access for emergency vehicles, that's going to be addressed before they come back.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, thank you. And an update on the request for qualifications on IT.
Right, so I provided you guys in your packet with the results of the IT RFQ for managed service.
Mhm.
And right now, our total budget for IT managed service is $40,000. And as you can see, we only received one quote underneath that amount, which was with Suzer IT for $19,197. This would be to bring us to the end of the fiscal year. And at the end of the fiscal year, we'll be looking to kind of reinstitute our regional agreement with Rutland. What I'd like to, once we kind of get this settled, we'll be sitting back down with Rutland to figure out how we're going to proceed, if it still makes sense to be in a regional agreement for IT service, given where we are, and see whether or not we want to continue down the road of managed IT, or whether or not we want to go back to the department head model as we had before. I did speak with an individual today who said that, you know, if we stuck with a department head model, he'd be interested in serving in that role, possibly not with as a regional, you know, as a regional setup, but just as the town itself. You know, it is something to consider as we continue the discussion, because we are still in that agreement. But in order to kind of bridge the gap until we can cover that, I'd recommend that we move forward with the lowest cost proposal
Mhm.
here for Suzer. I know that there's going to be a little bit of a transition period with him, because I know that he has plenty of outstanding projects that are not taken care of, and there are some issues that are definitely outstanding. We've had issues in the past, and I think that the next 8 months is we can kind of use as a test to see whether or not this is something that we can move forward with in the future. If, you know, coming in as a private company is actually a good move for the town, or if this is, or if we have to look in another direction, or go back to just a single town with a single IT director.
Okay. Questions from the,
Yeah, I'm just,
This figure here of the $19,000,
Yep.
this is 1 day per week. So this is basically in our obligation to the regional agreement?
So what,
Or is this for
this is,
us?
this is for us. This is that each week they will provide one person on site from 9 AM to 4 PM. That will basically they will sit as a department and handle any outstanding issues that we have, any things that come up. If we have a priority issue, they are to respond to it immediately, not just wait until that day of the week. But I understand too that there's some issues that were supposed to be handled as priority issues that are still lacking. So, it's kind of like I'm hoping that basically by entering in this agreement under this structure, that it shows some progress, and we move this issue forward, and it's a good match. If it's not, then we'll reassess.
So what I'm reading the consideration is that 1 day on-site technician, 1 day per week.
Right.
And then 24/7 coverage for unexpected issues. Does that coverage include labor to repair issues, or is that
That's labor to
just giving
repair.
us some on-call and we're going to be billed?
That's labor to repair issues.
And 1 day per week is cutting us back to just, I assume, an 8-hour day.
8-hour day for on-site projects.
And we're not making it on our 13 hours a week as is. In other words, he's not making any headway at 13
I haven't
hours.
seen any report that says that he's used his hours per week for these projects.
At the peak of his contract, and see if they can, and they can designate, let us know what the hours are allocated.
Right.
I would think he doesn't need to account for it. That would make sense.
Right.
It's something. I'm just concerned that going back to a day a week is almost cutting his time in half than what we've had. I don't think we're gonna make any meaningful ground on our projects at that pace.
The one thing I see, though, is that moving forward, projects aren't going to be just, projects that the IT director, or that they see as being priority. I think that our office is going to have to, we might have to work with them, but any approvals as far as projects that move forward are gonna have to go through our office, rather than just being an IT decision because it fit under the IT budget. In that case, it's going to I think it will dramatically reduce the number of projects that are actually happening, because we're not going to be saying that, we're gonna rewire buildings or do this. It's going to be simply, we're going to be maintaining and upgrading where needed.
But you already have a punch list for things that aren't.
I do have a punch
and
list of things.
What's your estimate on days to just finish the punch list of the outstanding issues?
it's probably, you know, if they were in 1 day per week, it would probably take them about a month to finish. If they were in a day a week, actually working on the issues from the time they came in.
And they should do that, not counting the 24/7 coverage. In other words, if an issue comes up and someone's here working, they should bring somebody else in for that coverage,
Yeah.
not disrupt it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
The
Let's
way I'm
hope
looking
it's
at it
that
too
quick.
is, you know, if we went with any of these other two people, they'd be coming on into the, you know, they'd be coming on site.
I think
They
we
wouldn't
can-
understand what ongoing projects we have. They wouldn't want to finish somebody else's work. And frankly, they'd probably charge us an additional cost above and beyond this in order to do that on site.
Mhm.
Um,
I agree, I'm just wondering if we should bump the hours.
Right.
That's my concern.
I don't know whether or not the hours are there to go.
Okay.
I think if we were to ask for additional hours, I think that would come with additional compensation. I think that the 1 day per week kind of taps what he has available for staff. Because part of this agreement was that, you know, this is effective October 1st, and he was looking to hire a new person for his company on October 1st. And somebody that's already there is somebody who would be taking over our account. I believe it's Josh who actually has been handling some of the on-site work currently. You know, he's met with the department heads, he's worked with them. You know, he's basically been the liaison of Suzer IT since we started this project. The hope is that with a little bit more, you know, manpower on their side, that they have a little bit more dedication to moving these projects along, rather than being so spread thin with fewer individuals.
Okay.
Sounds like our best option so far.
Okay, you all set?
I
Yep.
got a couple questions.
Yep.
One, and I believe you making progress in tracking the projects, the outstanding work, things like that. If we move forward on this, one of the key things I really want to know is how good is he at actually estimating the time and effort necessary? So if he says one thing and it ends up being more, we just need to know that.
Right.
Because I believe that was some of the communication issues that caused some of my frustration.
Right,
I'll be
and-
personal about that. That was my frustration, was I thought we were in a better situation until he resigned. And then I realized we were in a bad situation.
Yeah, and I've experienced the same frustration since I started with certain projects. I know the chief has been, you know, has felt similar situations with him. And I think a lot of it has had to do with not only how much he's stretched himself thin here, but has stretched himself thin on other projects in other communities that he's made dedications to. We do have the option in this contract that at any time we give 30 days notice that we've decided to we've decided to move on, and we can reassess from there. But I think that given the proposals that came in, it's worth a shot to try to see if we can get to 0 and then reinstitute new internal policies as far as how IT issues are basically moved up the chain, that hopefully we can kind of stay ahead of some of this stuff, and that rather than taking 3 months to get a computer replaced, that it only takes, 3 days.
The other question I have is the way this is worded for cost of all on-site labor included in the cost. Will provide the 1 day per week with 24/7 coverage for unexpected issues. My concern is that part. Say they come in on a Tuesday, put in their 8 hours, and on a Wednesday, they have to come in for 3 hours to reboot a police computer.
Completely covered. That is, the RFQ is written for the full 24/7 coverage.
So
You
if that
submit-
happens
Yep.
5 times in a week, he's just eating
Yep.
the 20 hours it might cost him to do that.
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure
Yep.
that's really clear and not, I'll come back to you later if it really gets expensive.
Nope, that's the way the contract is gonna be, is written with him, and that's how he submitted this bid, is that, for anything that happens within that 24/7 timeframe, you're taking care of it.
Okay.
You mentioned that we have a 30-day notice to break the contract.
Yep.
Have we required a notice of him this time, because last time there was no requirement. And he walked off in 2 weeks.
We can add in there a breach of contract provision. I have a draft contract right now that he had sent over, just as a template. I just started
I
reviewing
want
it
to make sure
before
we
this
get some
meeting.
notice from him this time.
Yep.
That's all. 2 weeks was not enough last time, and you can
Yeah.
use your judgment on what's appropriate notice, given the steps we have to take to
Yeah.
replace it, but.
Being a
2 weeks was enough.
being a contractor, I don't think you'll be really in a position to, resign. But, I will try to make sure that there's some provisions built in there to protect
That's
ourselves.
my only other concern.
Okay.
Okay.
So how would you propose moving forward with this?
I would say just a vote of the board in support of the proposal to retain Suzer IT for the remaining 8 months of the FY '18 in order to cover the time until we can renegotiate the contract with Rutland on the regional agreement
When's this contract need to be signed by, I think?
for October 1st, so that way we can continue service.
So we get a chance to put eyes on the contract, put
Yes.
some extra eyes on it before.
Has
So
it been
even if
drafted
you,
yet?
actually, you know what, I'll tell you what, we won't make a vote tonight. I will review the contract, I'll mark it all up, I'll send it out to you guys for review. We can discuss it at the next meeting and make a formal decision then.
That actually puts us into October.
Right.
Okay. Already, oh geez, I already puts us into October.
I would make a motion to allow Andrew to draft the contract, send it to us via email. If we have any comments, or if Charlie just comes, however we do it, provide comments back. Andrew will then tell us when he believes he's received all comments, and here's the final draft. If we agree with that, we can come in and sign it at our time frame.
So what if we have a motion to proceed with Suzer IT, with Andrew outlining the contract and just running it by us before he signs it?
Pending contract
Straightforward.
review and approval.
Yeah,
That
I mean, if
way
you,
that way we're
if you come in and
choosing-
see it and you
choosing
sign the
IT.
contract, that means you approved it. And then,
I'll just ask.
so this is just us saying we approve it based on each of our own review and signature on the contract
I'll
when
ask
it's
for 3
ready.
signature lines.
That's
Okay.
fine.
All right.
Will that help us without having to come back to a meeting? Or not like
Sure.
circumventing any rules? Just want to
Well,
make
you
sure.
can sign the contract
Okay.
also, I just wanted
Do
to
you
put
need a
eyes on it.
motion for that?
And I don't think we have to see it, I just wanted to.
I don't know if we need a
Just
vote.
for-
I definitely want to see it.
Yeah, so.
I'm sorry, that's just
Go
me.
ahead, go ahead. You guys can vote on it just to make it formal.
Yeah, well, I make a motion to let Andrew proceed with the contract for Suzer IT. We'll plan on engaging Suzer IT for this, and pending our signatures on the contract when he has it prepared.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion?
And what I'll do is, moving forward, I'm gonna provide you guys a list of outstanding IT issues. I know I had sent out one previous before that, I'd asked for some feedback.
Mhm.
I think kind of going forward, at least once a month, with my report, I'll just provide you an update as far as projects ongoing and things that have been accomplished.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have,
Got a vote on it?
oh, that's right, I'm sorry. I'll call for a vote. In favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, sorry about that. Moving right along, I was looking at Counselor Cranston there, and we have the issue with the donation of land along Cole Road. And there's a map in here of what. And I think the last meeting, we had left it that we'd get in touch with Jim Baird and go from there.
Yes, so I spoke with Jim Baird on this, and he asked me to ask you guys if it was something you were interested in taking. The letter that we did receive from these people, I think stated that they were, inherited this land and they didn't want to continue paying taxes on something they weren't going to use, so they were willing to donate it to the town. So Jim Baird wanted to know if you guys felt that there was a need for the town to have this.
Okay. Well, it certainly wasn't on the section of Cole Road that I thought it was on. Before I got the map, I was thinking it was between Cutler Road and the section that runs through to Jewett Road, but it's actually the section of Cole Road that goes from Cutler Road over to Warwinet Road, and it extends through a couple of parcels and comes out on Warwinet Road over on what was formerly Phil Moss's property. For some reason, I thought the other side of Cutler, but it's not exactly where I thought it was. But to me, I think it would be worth us having, and just hang on to it. We don't know what the future holds on anything, and it may be some, you know, we don't know where development will go 20 years from now or whatever, but I don't know what the wishes of the board is.
This looks like a lot with frontage. It may be a buildable lot.
Well, have you seen the road?
Why would they not sell it?
Why, have you seen the road?
What, Cole Road?
Go road, sure.
What?
No,
Sure,
I
I've
have
seen
not.
Cole Road.
You've seen it where it goes off of Warwinet, and
Yeah,
you know, where they cut the little trail down when they were clearing the land? That's Cole Road.
yeah. But is it not sellable to somebody? I mean,
What,
are we
buildable,
losing
it's
tax money?
buildable, but the road would have to be upgraded and then maintained and everything by the town.
Is it-
I don't know if it'd have to
I
be
believe it's going to get a
upgraded.
tax title right now.
Okay. Is it a discontinued road, or is it an actual road as of now?
It's an actual road, as far as I know.
If it's an
Well,
actual
the
road,
tax
it's
title?
buildable.
It's buildable, but the condition of the road, and you have to be careful when you have these roads discontinued, because it affects our chapter 90. But anyway, but I'd just hang on to it, and it would be, right now, it would be very difficult to build on because of the condition of the road, and the builder would be responsible for the road, but I think it would be worth hanging on to.
I got
Okay,
two
then,
questions.
okay? Yep.
What is the value of the back taxes owed? And second, what are our concerns about taking on land that may be contaminated, or how will we test to make sure it's not a concern? It's just questions I have, because I don't want to take on a property we won't ever be able to
If it
sell.
doesn't have conservation value for the conservation committee or something, and no one's looking for the land for any reason, I don't know why we want to take on another parcel of land if we don't have use for it. It's cutting off taxes, they could sell it, and we could still recover taxes, and they're still responsible for the taxes they owe on it at this point.
You may be getting it either way. And then you'd have to auction it.
And then we
but-
could auction it off and we turn the
Yeah,
money
well,
back.
I didn't say it was being bought as conservation land, it's just being bought as land. Ronnie?
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment on that particular parcel that it is, the access is, the way the town left that road up is in question. And it currently has a gate on it by an adjacent landowner,
Mm-hmm,
and he's claiming somewhat of a jurisdiction on that road,
right.
okay? And, you know, basically if, it could be what they call a 21E filed on it for any contaminants or anything like that. There would be someone sent out to do some kind of a check on it. But I doubt that it has anything.
Yeah, I would,
Okay.
yeah, I'm
I'm
aware.
just not familiar with the region and the history of the use
It's
of
in
the
the middle
land,
of
so.
nowhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware that one property owner there owns pretty sizable amount of frontage along it.
Yes.
It questions about the status of the road and what he wants, but I don't know.
Yeah, the road was washed out substantially,
Yes,
and it would take a lot of work to get it back into some kind of shape.
right.
Is the transfer of land kind of contingent on saying, I don't owe you the back taxes if we give you the land? Because that would be kind of key to the whole process. I'm just curious.
I think that's kind of what their letter,
And that's why I need to know what that value is before I could say we would take it on, because if they're trying to say, we'll give you the land instead of fighting on a tax title process, you know what I mean? It may just be them trying to say, let's draw a clean slate, you take the land and you get rid of it because we can't. And I don't know if that's really helping us at all.
I don't know, that's a possibility of it happening anyway, being
Right.
transferred, so you've got that part.
Right, but we're not forfeiting the tax that they already owe us if we do it that way.
Well, either
If we
way.
take the land in lieu of the back taxes, then we forfeited the revenue,
Yeah.
and we have a plot of land we can't sell. Which means if anybody next door to that plot wants to buy it, they know we're not in a situation to hold back. It's not like we're sitting here with any value of land for whatever purpose.
Mhm.
So I'm just saying, I don't think if we inherit it in that manner, that we actually have much to stand on regaining our lost funds.
Well, it's up to the town, but,
Either way, I'm not inclined to
Okay.
move forward with taking the land at this point, no, without some more information
Okay.
on taxes and possible land values, so I would assume table it for now.
I mean, I'm definitely not against it, I just need to know that number, what the tax title was, and if it truly is a trade the land for the back taxes costs. And then I can have a better idea of that as well.
For the next meeting, I'll provide the property record card for it. Should give a little bit better of a description on it, plus the taxes owed.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I'm in favor of doing it in, anyway, we'll find that out.
Is this a brook or a stream running right through the
It's the
middle of it
road.
as well?
It's the road,
Which one's the road?
the one on the left.
You
Yeah,
got-
but what's this?
That,
That looks like a stream running right through the middle of the property.
Yes, I believe there is.
yeah, I don't know if it's a year-round?
How many acres?
Sort of.
We dried up
That's-
right now.
Yeah, sort of, yeah, as I recall. I haven't, it's sort of, it's kind of like, it's a stream, it's, like snow melt and stuff.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it
No, it
becomes a
doesn't mean it
buildable
does-
lot
doesn't
either.
mean it's a wetland
So
or
that's
not, but I
another
mean-
question I have is,
Yeah.
I don't, my opinion is no, but we had, there was some other work done on an adjacent lot to there, and they had to come in off of Cutler. They had to come in off of Cutler.
Yeah.
Which was quite a ways.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of wetlands issues.
Yep.
all right.
It's an interesting road all the way through.
Yeah.
Again, I'm definitely not necessarily against it, I just think there's some more questions I need to answer before I could support that.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to take it and assume it, so.
Yep.
but If we have a reason to, sit,
Motion to table this until we get further information.
Okay, there a second for that?
Yes, I already made the same motion.
Okay. Call for a vote in favor?
Aye.
You voting behind or?
No, I was saying,
Yeah,
you got it,
I
Greg,
know.
I'm sorry, I missed that motion.
Okay, we need to find the deed transfer for Station Road, and we don't have all the paperwork yet for that, do we?
No, we received it late this afternoon.
Oh, you received it too, okay.
Mhm.
Oh, that final.
Yep, so that is the deed that was prepared, I believe, by,
Attorney Malis. Oh, wait a minute, I should. I believe she did.
Mhm.
Okay.
I make a motion to accept the transfer of land at Station Road from the town to Mr. Joseph Banowski.
Okay.
I second the motion.
Okay, second discussion.
Do we have that or not yet? Because he can't do that until,
can I see that?
yeah, reported with the
It's in
Worcester
your-
deeds is missing the booking page, and I'm just wondering if that's for and after the thing you resubmit, or is that something we need in there for prior to
Might be
signature?
something, no, not prior to signature. You guys can go ahead and sign this and we can fill this in.
Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, I know
I
the
would
plot,
just-
I just wanted to make
I
sure
would
that,
just do the dollar figure in the motion
where's that?
on the top.
Make a motion to accept the transfer of land to Joseph Banowski for $4,000.00 at Corner Station Road.
Second the motion.
Okay, discussion. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote in favor. This was voted at the annual.
Yes. Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Can I,
What? your patience is much,
Hi. Yeah, I'm Joe,
yeah,
Good to meet you, Joe.
yeah, I'm Joe Banowski. Probably all know me, right?
yeah, Charlie
Les.
Chase.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, Joe. It's taken a while.
Yes, take a look.
But we're getting there.
Yeah, that's okay. Andrew, okay.
Thank you. Perseverance, I guess, has its,
Well, you know,
yeah,
it's a virtue, right? Patience and,
so
what
they
they tell me.
So they say. I
We're
don't,
supposed to,
I think it's easier than going the easement route.
we're supposed to try to exercise it. You all know, the reason why I needed
yeah, yep,
purpose for the land is so I can submit a Title V plan.
mm-hmm,
Mr. Goby is my engineer. He submitted some plans already
Yep.
to you, but I have the final plan, which I'm going to present to the Board of Health, and another copy to the Conservation Commission. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm assuming that's in order.
Yes.
Yeah,
You're clear
we
with
just
that.
helped you get the land, and now that you own the land, you can go before the other boards to get the approval of the actual other septic layout, correct? That's what that process
What's your
is
concern,
about.
Fay?
So this was just, we said you can have the land, and now you can go do what you want with the land.
Register first, maybe, or?
Yeah,
Needs to be filed with.
it needs to be filed with the registry of deeds before he has actual ownership, but I don't, did you give the town a check yet, or not yet?
No, that,
I don't think
my
that's.
attorney has to check, and
Okay.
I know she does that at the
Yeah, I don't think
registry.
it's
I
something
wasn't
the
sure she
middle
does it
process
at the
is
registry's
so
office, so.
He can't.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay,
Right.
I'll
Yep.
follow up with Malis tomorrow,
Yeah.
so I'll notarize this tomorrow
This won't be
and let them
back.
know that
Yeah.
it's ready, and
Okay.
then we'll find out.
Right.
Okay.
You'll get this when we get the check.
That-
You should be able to proceed with your planning, you just won't be able to act on the land until
Okay.
everything's
Yeah,
filed.
A question was brought up by my engineer, Mr. Goby,
mhm,
in preparing his plan, which is not appropriate to bring here. He brought to my attention that there was an agreement between the town and myself, as owners of that property, that they would, because they couldn't use the water anymore, that they would fill in the existing, it would,
Depression?
yeah, the existing system of water, which was artesian well.
yeah,
You know,
that's what I,
it was there, but it was never done. And it's signed by the, all the selectmen and everybody, that it's a legal document according to
yep,
him.
right here.
When is that dated?
So,
Yep. Well, it goes back a ways. Yeah, and then this. It definitely go.
I just wanted.
Okay, we'll have to make sure he's aware of that.
I presume you still want it filled in.
I'm sorry.
You still want it filled in, I presume.
Yes, that's where that's where the system goes. And so, I don't want to run into more problems. Here's
That
something.
shouldn't make a problem. We have to talk to Jason about it, I would imagine, and
But the system's going where the
No,
well
no.
is?
No,
It's just, we have town water.
Okay,
The artesian well is in the field where this is going. So that, according to the engineer, that has to be filled, and it should have been when it was, at the time it was closed off. So,
The thing that you just submitted only speaks to the responsibilities of the owner of the property. So I'm not sure what he has that references something that the city's or town's responsible for.
No,
Are you saying the town is responsible for filling something in, according to this agreement?
according to that agreement, the town said that they were gonna do it at that time, and they didn't.
Okay, I'm just not seeing that on this. There may be something else, but this says nothing about what the town will do for you. It just says what you will do.
Wait a minute.
Owner agrees to abandon use of the private well or water source serving the property and hold town harmless regarding any contamination that may have been said in said source in the past, is at present or may be in the future. Further, town shall be authorized to make the well or water source inoperative, including, if required, filling or destruction.
Right, read the first, yeah, and that's what they agreed to do, to fill it.
Now it does in commas say, if required.
Well,
And it says we are authorized, so definition of required is what makes it required,
Okay.
and who's the authority to make the decision? The town.
The engineer.
The town is authorized.
The engineer says it's required.
Which engineer?
His
Your
engineer.
current one?
Yes.
His engineer.
My engineer.
Apparently not the one that was involved with the actual demolition of the well back in
There was
2000.
no engineer there. Was there? I don't see an engineer sign.
I'm
see
just
select-
curious,
I
he
see
would have to
selectmen.
put it in a writing why he believes we're required to fill in a hole in the ground. I'm not disagreeing that it may be correct. I'm just saying that that doesn't necessarily say we owe you that yet.
Okay, well,
So I'm not,
yeah.
you just need your engineer to explain why and put in writing,
Well, I-
this is why you're required to
Yeah.
do that.
I can give that to the Board of Health. They'll shoot, it's all in the plan. What's gonna be done according to
Okay, we'll talk
Yeah.
to Jason
Want me
about
to
it,
make
and
copies of that? I'll make copies of that.
you please, yeah.
Yeah.
we'll talk,
And
Please forgive me, it's just,
Yeah, man.
I'm representing the town, so I gotta look at it from that perspective.
More specific though, on the front page of the town letterhead from Earl Sampler, it states that we're gonna
Do it.
fill the well in. It states that in the front page from Earl, regardless of what the legal document says behind it, it states and is signed by Earl
By Earl.
Sample, that says that it will be filled. So I don't know why it wasn't done, but he clearly states there he intended to do it because of sanitation reasons. So I don't know why.
we can speculate, one can speculate.
Right, we can only speculate.
Well, yeah,
That's fine.
Earl was no longer with us to ask, but
I just know that.
Yep.
If I'm giving this material to another commission.
Yep,
Board.
we'll talk to Jason.
Again, I'm playing
We'll discuss it.
my side of the
But
paperwork.
I thought it was important that I bring it up.
Yeah,
I do appreciate it.
Yeah, because now it's gonna, all
see
these
if
are
he's.
gonna go.
Yeah, we'll-
Two other boards.
Know why it was or wasn't done. or-
And
we'll talk
That was
to,
from Rothmeister.
we'll talk
Yeah,
to
okay.
Jason
And that
on
front
it.
section of that land that you're acquiring from us
Started in 2000,
is part of the whole
That's
plan,
right.
where you
Yeah.
need the dirt to show you got the coverage and
must be
the,
filled.
Back then,
Yeah.
exactly.
We'll talk to Jason
Part of
and
that
So,
accusation.
make sure he's aware of the letter and
I'm
stuff.
sorry.
We'll talk to
I have
Jason on
hearing
it.
loss, as you can tell.
Yeah, well, so do I.
Yeah.
We'll talk to Jason on it and
Okay.
have him take a look at it and give him the letter and we'll
Yeah.
get it, we'll get it.
It looks to me like we promised to fill it, and I think we should, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't think that'll be a
I
problem.
appreciate that.
If you were promised that before, I think we should uphold that promise.
Right, I
Yeah.
get
We
that.
have gotta ask our DPW superintendent, see what he knows, but why.
All the people who
something
signed it
didn't
probably
happen.
no longer.
I was,
around.
I'm on there.
Oh, you are? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm on there. I can't,
Charlie's fault.
I can't recall
That's
the
okay.
specific signing, but my name is on there,
Oh,
so.
good. That's good. I appreciate
Some of
your
them,
time.
I think,
Thanks
some
again,
of
Joe,
the
for
others
coming in.
running
Thanks
for coming
and,
in.
Takes a lot.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else I have to do?
not right now, we're all set.
Except,
Send a check and
Oh,
file your
this is
paperwork with
yours.
the registry of deeds.
That's your original.
So the check would go, is
Town of
already
Barry.
made out to the town of Barry.
Should be.
Yeah.
And then when that check comes
Go
to
in.
you,
You'll get the signed deed to register at the, right.
the attorney will do that. It's
Right.
gonna-
Then you want that check coming to the administrator office, so that they can make, they
Well,
can
the
turn.
deed exchange will come through us, so
Right,
yes.
so the check will have to go to the administrator office, and then they can get it to the treasurer, but that way they know when to release the deed.
You can come see me,
Okay,
okay?
yeah, I just wanna know what communication I should have with the attorney at this point, I type tomorrow.
I'll
Should I
call.
just tell her
Mhm,
to call you?
mhm.
How about that?
That's perfect.
Let's leave it at that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'll follow.
Perfect.
Thank you all.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
Thank you
much.
for coming in. Okay, we have the liquor license to sign.
Yep.
Stay alive.
And this is for
Isana Incorporated, DBA Quabbin Plaza Liquors.
Yep,
You guys recently approved it, and it came back from ABCC, so I just need the license approved.
yep, so they're ready to go.
Once they bring us their check, they will be.
Yep. Okay, we've already voted on this, so it's just a matter of signing.
If you guys can vote to
Hey,
sign the
you want
actual
another vote?
license, that would be good. And this
Oh.
license expires December 31st.
Okay,
Make a motion to sign this license.
okay, is there a second?
Second motion.
Okay, discussion, hearing none, I'll call for a vote, in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay,
I have one item, if,
Yep.
so didn't end up on the agenda, because I didn't hear from Jim Baird until late, but we do have some parties here for that.
which is,
Paul Cranston and,
oh, okay. I'm wondering, yeah,
Paul's here for the trick or treating?
Paul's here for the trick or treating.
This is the last item on the agenda, I figured
Yep,
as much.
Mary
He's
Jane,
definitely- He's definitely ready for trick or treating, just so you know.
Mary Jane?
I was wondering if the annual town meeting was gonna be brought up, you sort of slid down to the signed liquor license. Are you gonna come back to the annual town meeting?
Yeah, we are,
Oh, wait, thank you.
okay,
Sorry,
yeah,
Andrews.
we'll deal with that when,
Mhm.
a little bit down the road, I don't even,
That's under the town administrator's report.
yeah, it's in Andrew's report, so we'll be coming to that, okay? We're waiting for Paul.
Paul's here.
Oh,
He's
good.
ready.
Oh, I thought you were, come right up here.
What is the actual item?
It's a discharge of mortgage.
Do they know anything about it?
No.
No,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
So we received this discharge call, if you don't mind, last week. So I had sent it over to Attorney Baird, as we usually do, and after speaking with Attorney Baird, one thing came up. We have all the documents, which is good. The promissory note states in here that the person that took the mortgage out must maintain ownership. There's qualifications in order for us to discharge it with no back
Is
payment.
this another CDBG?
Correct.
Okay. 15-year ownership?
Yes, a 5-year maybe.
Fif-
15-year, yeah. So it says that, under number 3, the terms and conditions of the deferred payment. It says the outstanding principal balance of the deferred payment loan shall become due and payable in full immediately upon the occurrence of one of the following events: the transfer of ownership of the property or any interest therein from the owner by any means or manner whatsoever, except that in the event of death of the owner, repayment shall be enforced only upon subsequent transfer for value by their heir at law or devicee. So Jim Baird's opinion on this was that the money was owed because the Miss Mirabelli, how do you say? Mirabelli.
Oh, okay.
Transferred the property in 1990 to her children with a life estate.
okay,
So, let me address that if I could. Thank
okay.
you.
When was the loan taken out?
1990 as well.
Okay.
Here's the deed from Flora, which was in March of 1990, where she reserved a life estate. A life estate is a form of ownership of property. The remainder people don't have any interest in the property until that life tenant dies. They can't do anything without the property. The life tenant pays the taxes, they pay the insurance, they upkeep the property, they're responsible for that. If they don't do that, the remainder men can sue that person. So they have that obligation as a life tenant owner. So she retained ownership of the property. I'm pretty sure we've done this before when I asked for a discharge. Can't put my finger on what particular person it was. This shouldn't even be an issue. Life tenancy is a form of ownership. As a matter of fact, after that deed,
Yep,
the mortgage went on. So
We had
you're
to-
trying to tell me that your mortgage that you gave was an invalid mortgage because according to Jim Baird, she didn't have an ownership interest in the property, yet you gave her a mortgage and loaned her money.
yep.
So,
And we would have at some point had to subordinate to another mortgage, right?
yeah, if there were another one, yes.
Well, when you mentioned
Correct.
mortgage, I assumed we must have subordinated at some point, right?
So I respectfully disagree with Jim Baird. I don't know, there's no question in the world that, I also copied this, which you can have indicating, this is just, I could have copied 1,000 things online. You all can check online yourselves. A life estate is a form of ownership. It tells you that, you can hold on to that. So what I would ask this board to do tonight is to execute that discharge, because we have a closing on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And we need that discharge for the closing. So your town council, I hope, will see his way clear to something, or an alternative to that is that you ignore your town council and look at the documents in front of you and acknowledge that this woman had ownership and met the terms of that agreement, and that the money shouldn't have to be paid.
What's that address?
31 Peach Street.
Jackie Stratton and James Mirabile, 29 Peach Street.
Which one's this?
That's the address of the person. It's not the address of the property. The property's here. And not only that, I'm guessing that since.
How do I know they're the same property? How do I do that?
Because they are, I'm telling you. And since that, listen.
I'm not gonna say you're
well,
wrong,
let
I'm
me
just trying to
explain
figure out how to
you.
read this.
Since they've done that, I'm pretty sure they've renumbered all those numbers up there, so you wouldn't even know.
Yeah, I'm
if you
just
wanted to.
thinking between 90 and 91, we would know if they renumbered
I
it.
wouldn't be wasting my time in front of you if they weren't the same property.
Yeah, we did
It's on the title report that says that you have to discharge that loan.
Yep.
I'm way past whether or not it's the right property. That's not.
No, I'm just asking.
I understand.
Some of the documents.
When I look and see different numbers, I just gotta ask.
Yep.
Some of the
Because this is not my
Some of the
specialty.
documents we have say 2930.
I know, they're all.
Well, on the
They're
side here, it does
29,
reference 2931.
Those
Yeah.
are, that's a two-family anyway, isn't it?
So, and there's
Sorry.
there's the title report that shows the mortgage
And there was
on the property.
rehabilitation work at both locations, both sides of the duplex.
Yeah, duplex, correct, yeah,
So that could be why one's.
from Ann Malis's office. So she also acknowledges that there is, that there was an ownership interest until she passed away. You can hang on to that if you'd like as well. But, so, it's an urgent situation, frankly, and it's not a complicated situation, I don't think, and I think it's something that can be handled fairly quickly, but I can't afford to have you table this or ignore it, because my clients are trying to sell the property and move to South Carolina. They've been here for a very long time, and they would appreciate your cooperation.
My frustration, Paul, comes from, we see all too often in this front of this board is things are brought to us that weren't thought out ahead of time, and they're put on us.
We received this, what day
Quickly.
last week, Mr. Cranston?
I don't know, I didn't do
Might
it.
have been Wednesday.
Okay, well, I'm sure it.
So it would have
we
had
addressed-
time to have been on the agenda. I mean,
Well, I
that's-
was
don't-
waiting to speak with Mr. Baird,
I know,
so,
that's my point. You know, to have the process go and give us some respect and some time to look at it, we don't have that, and that's what frustrates me with this.
Understood.
On the surface, if it's her property and she has inhabited the house and stayed there for 15 years, on the surface, I have no problem with that. But legally, I don't know if we have that right, and that's where I have to defer to the attorney's opinion. I'm not an attorney, and I don't, you know, I can read that and understand as best as a layman can, but I don't know. You know, law is all about specifics and details,
I think.
in my layman's terms.
Okay, I think you are correct, it's been done. I can recall doing something, maybe not exactly this, something similar at some point.
With life estates, with.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I've done it before.
I don't
before this
remember
before.
the circumstances, but something along this lines. I don't know if it was life estate or what, but.
How
Not
legally
with
does
this
this
board.
No,
differ than just a will?
No, not with this board.
How legally is this different than a will?
What do you mean?
Well, it sounds like until they die, it's their property, which is no different than a will saying when we die, it's their kid's property, or whoever you named in this. So why would someone use this mechanism
It's
instead of a
very-
will?
it's
That's
very
what I'm
similar.
asking. What's the
It-
difference?
You know, if you look in that publication that I gave you, it gives some reasons why someone does a life estate. And it's estate planning, basically, but you're absolutely right. I thought of the same thing earlier this afternoon.
So I just
It's
didn't know
essentially
what
like
the
a will.
benefit that is versus a will, and maybe that benefit is the reason why it is or isn't interpreted the same way
And I'm also
by
going to give you,
our lawyer.
that's an excellent point. Also, information from Social Security and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that they value the life estate. So your remainder person has an interest, a legal interest, a valued interest, so does the owner. So the only real issue we have here is, was this woman an owner? Clearly, she was an owner. And so, but, did I? think
Yeah.
that You're
I
selecting.
think. I would like to read the original document if I could.
It's here. So it's the older colored papers, 'cause we printed newer deeds and what have you in there.
There was no to it. I didn't print the whole thing.
The remainder owner is them, like tenant owners, the ones they name. Okay.
Led to was.
Okay, for one, I'm willing to go along with it. I know the numbering system, High Plains, the Italian section of Salona Square, Trafalgar Square, and strangely enough, only part of Vernon Avenue had the old Barry Wool numbering systems. I don't know what happens at the other end of Vernon Ave, but that's not my problem. That's from another time. So I do know that the street numbering system was changed. I was on the board when we did that too, which was a complicated issue. I remember that vividly. Very vividly. So I'm willing to go along with it. I think Attorney Cranston is correct. I can recall doing something very similar to this and some others, and we've done a number, even though they've still owned the property, a number of subordinations from people who get mortgages, and then we have to subordinate to this. We've done that many, many times. So, and people have owned the property. It's not like I don't think they're trying to circumvent the procedure or anything, or circumvent the rights of the community. At least that's my opinion.
So it's basically an estate planning process. It is very similar to a will. You can have this when I die, it's just a different form of you can have this when I die.
To read the exception here, the transfer or ownership of the property or any interest therein, which it sounds like we have an interest change in the property, from the owner.
What
in
they're
any-
saying
in
is
any
the
means
transfer hasn't
whatsoever.
occurred yet, because they're not dead yet.
But it says the transfer of ownership or any interest in that. It doesn't say, any interest would certainly seem to be covering this.
Well, that's, yeah.
And I can
It's
see-
remainder interest, I know what you're saying.
That's an
Except in event of the death,
interpretation of
except in
application.
the event of a death, prepayment shall be enforced only upon subsequent transfer. So it still says it would be enforced upon a subsequent transfer
See, I don't think
to
that
the
that's
heir
what
at law
that-
or devised.
I don't think that that's language anticipated someone giving their children a life estate. It's essentially similar to a will. You've got a remainder interest. That woman stayed there until she passed.
When
Mhm.
did she pass?
If I,
2008, I believe.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
I think there's an
Okay.
affidavit document in there.
Which would be 18 years. So she held the property beyond her 15 or so.
18, 17.
The only thing I'm reading there is that, and that's probably what Attorney Beard's looked at, is the transfer or ownership of the property or any interest therein. This is
Correct.
certainly an interest in the property. I mean, you can't deny it's an interest in the property. Or they'd have no claim to the property.
but
It
But their
demonstrates-
interest
there's
doesn't
no
materialize
transfer
until
of the
that
interest
person
until
dies.
2008.
It's still an interest.
No,
It's
it's
not
not.
any interest.
All right, well,
Well, that's, but this is why I said that, I assume that's why attorneys held up on it, I don't.
All right, my My opinion is I better understand it, and I think the reason you do this is because it does register it at the Registry of Deeds, and it's, just as they stated, it saves a lot of the probate stuff that even comes with wills.
And it
Because
probably
wills can
prevents
change pretty
inheritance tax.
quickly, if at the last minute someone does a will, it's a fight, where this is, it's registered and set, and you can't clear it from the registry without other paperwork that's
Right.
third-party
It's a done deal.
sponsored, so
Does
this
it
is a more
transfer-
solid will is what this is.
Does that
It's-
transfer undergo an inheritance tax of any kind?
No.
It does only if they have a whole bunch of assets of
But I'm
the
saying
state
that's
tax
the other
level for
reason
the
it's
state,
done.
but-
It's the other reason it's done to avoid probate court and avoid inheritance tax on it.
Yeah, but this does specifically state that at the point of the transfer of the property to the other person, if the valuation meets the whatever 1.5 million estate tax evaluation that the state has, they still owe that. So this doesn't get them out of any taxes, it just means they weren't responsible for debts or revenues, had no benefit of the property until 2008, when the last owner of the mortgage died. And so I definitely understand their position and I don't disagree with it. But I know
My
I'm not a
hang-up is, like I said,
lawyer,
The
so-
interest therein is the only part that is, I think, the hang-up that this, it's, you know, she lived there for 18 years, and like I said, on the surface,
the
my
question
opinion
is when did they get that interest?
that-
1990.
Right. They had
No,
that
they did not
interest-
get that interest until 2008.
And the deed was,
That's what
This
the
is a
deed was,
contract
but the
saying that
interest
this
didn't
interest
until she died.
becomes theirs when the owner dies, not at the time you sign these papers to file for the life estate ownership process. So in other words, they're
My only
saying,
concern is that we're doing something.
way in the future.
Is to do something illegal, which I don't want to do anything illegal in process.
And I
Once
don't-
again, on the surface, she stayed there 18 years, she possessed the house in 18 years, and I think that is the spirit of the intent of that agreement. I think the clause I point out is probably what's held up attorney on it, and whether or not, you know, that's worth arguing. My feeling is, the spirit of it, that she maintained that house for 15 years, and she did. That's, you know, that's my only concern I saw. I don't want to do anything that's proceeding legally, but I lean towards she stayed there for more than 15 years, which I think fulfilled her obligation.
That's the way I look at it, and
Try to stop thinking legally, I think that's gray, but morally, she stayed there 15
we
years.
have modified these things many times. I can tell you that we've had to do them, people have gone out and gotten subsequent mortgages, and we have to subordinate to the, if they can get a new mortgage on the house and stuff. So we've made moves on this many, many, many times, so I think we need to do this.
I make a motion to allow Jim Baird to make the final decision. It sounded like he just needed a little more time to review it. Let him work with their representation and accept Jim Baird's final decision.
And ask Jim Baird to do that before Thursday.
these guys meet again Wednesday?
Who's guys?
We do?
Nope, I didn't question.
No, we don't.
No, you don't, finance meets Wednesday.
My
Well,
other.
they can vote to sign it, subject to Jim's approval.
That would be a better motion.
Or
Or
in
lack-
the alternative, if you.
Lack
Jim-
of legal
Like I
opposition. put it
said,
that
if
way.
Jim comes back and says,
Yeah, we've heard that term before.
it's
too.
fine,
If he doesn't
I'll just
have a
walk in the
legal
office and
opposition
sign
to
it.
it.
That's what this motion is to sign this once Jim says it's okay. And if Jim says it's okay by tomorrow, I can walk in the office tomorrow night and each of us will hit it somewhere during the week if we get that notice that it's. So my motion is, with the extra time Jim requested to review this, if he comes back and says, I have no further issue with this, that we approve it and we sign it outside of meeting.
I'm not looking to split hairs to try to get money out of somebody. I'm looking to make sure we don't break the law, that's it.
No, and that's all I'm
If he has
saying.
no legal
Buy Jim a week to
ramifications
try to
for us-
focus on this, week meaning Thursday. I'm just saying this week.
We're trying to work with you, Mr. Cranston.
I
It's,
appreciate that.
It is, you know,
And I do understand, it's the first time I looked at, and I don't know what Jim's saying he needs for time. So that's why, I don't know if it's just, I couldn't answer you, but I could by tomorrow. But,
That's what happened today. He wasn't able to answer me and go over it today.
Hopefully he'll answer me.
Hopefully he does.
Okay.
but
And
Great.
then, I can contact you once it's signed, if that's the.
Okay.
So I'll second Matt's motion to
Okay.
sign it pending no disagreements from the attorney.
yeah,
Okay.
if not, we'll get it back on the agenda as quick as possible.
I favor doing it anyway, but I'll go along with that. Maybe we can convey a sentiment to the board as well to our counselor. He knows.
I would definitely pass on that I'm at Urban to support the request,
Yeah,
based on
something.
my understanding of the situation. Can't speak for the
Seems
other
like
two
we-
members,
As
but
do I just want to make sure we're not doing anything
Yeah.
that we
So
aren't
I
allowed
guess
to
you
do.
can convey that spirit of the board as well, so.
But I mean, if he comes back with something that I just don't understand legally and he says, this is why you can't,
Then
then
it's gonna stop.
I'll have to listen.
Yeah.
So I will respect
Okay.
whatever he comes
So,
back with.
that said, I'll call, any other discussion? I'll call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Would you like these back?
Sure. If anybody, I can email these out.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Thank you much for your
Thank you.
time.
Yep. I'm gonna take a quick break, okay?
Okay.
Take a recess.
What?
We could take a recess quick.
Yeah, just a quick recess and then we'll be right back in business.
Specifically, last meeting, select board meeting, which I did not attend, I did get a chance to watch online and review the tapes. And as you might realize, I was pretty upset to see that, A, you let Mr. Jankowski speak off topic at a meeting unannounced, and B, that you let him continue to slander me on camera in front of this town without myself being here to defend myself. He's making false statements, and thankfully Mr. Urban spoke up and corrected him on those statements.
Okay.
But I tell you, the fact that you let that continue was abhorrent to me.
Okay.
It's your responsibility as chairman of this board to make sure that people don't speak out of turn. The people that come here are welcome to speak on the issues of the evening, not to bring up their bashing of other select board members when they're not present.
Okay.
And
I don't think he
can't
mentioned you by
begin-
name.
Oh, he most certainly did. And
Okay.
we most certainly agreed right along with him.
Okay,
I watched it just this morning to make sure it was fresh for me.
okay, all righty. So noted.
That cannot happen and should not happen. And I'm very displeased
I
with
think,
your leadership as chairman at this point.
Well, you can be disappointed, but I think if you recall, there have been many other instances where I have been very defensive of this board. I've defended this board pretty vigorously in public settings. Many times, if you recall, different other meetings that we have been to.
That was certainly not one of them, that's the one I'm.
Well, you can say that if you want, but, you know, I do allow people to speak, and maybe if it was named, I wasn't too pleased about the situation myself, so, and I think you know that. With the Department of
Regardless
Revenue.
of how you are about that situation,
And I
that
think-
belongs on the agenda.
Okay, let me finish.
Mr. Chase.
Let me finish, I heard you. And I think to call the Department of Revenue about the town, a situation in the town, without consulting with the other members is not I've never seen that done before. Consider myself to be very ethical, very honest. I work very hard on this job.
Once again, if you want to discuss that topic on the agenda tonight, I would be glad to do so.
I would be very
And
happy
I'm
to
not
do
gonna
it,
delve
but
into the issue
I think
tonight.
if you're gonna
The
do
issue-
something like that, you have a responsibility to tell us.
The issue for tonight is you're allowing that discussion without me being here.
Okay, well,
And
the
that
issue.
was disgusting.
The issue was, the whole issue, I didn't appreciate Department of Revenue putting us in a
Once
position.
again, not a topic for our agenda, Charlie.
Okay,
This is where you went wrong last week, not a topic for tonight.
okay.
Glad to have a
Then in that
discussion next
case,
week about
neither
it.
was yours. I usually let the board bring
Mine
up
was old
whatever they
business.
want. Okay, but I am not gonna be questioned on leadership or anything like that, okay? And I do allow citizens to speak. I feel that this is something that
Well,
the
I
town one
certainly
was.
question the leadership, and I'm going to look into what's required to reorganize the board and suggest we do so when I can.
Okay, you can do that if you want, but
Absolutely.
I would suggest the next time you call the Department of Revenue about our employees.
Once
or the
again,
town-
not on the agenda.
It doesn't have to be, it's come up. So if you want to reorganize, there's three of us here, you can do that. You can do that whenever you want. You don't have to look into very much, but
Well, I would-
if you're not happy with the way it's being done,
I am not.
okay. And I would suggest that you start making sure day to day, you know what's going on and everything. It's just a phone call, and I don't expect to be challenged in terms of leadership. We've gone through an awful lot, and we've cleared up a lot of problems. So with that said, we'll move on. So, if you go at me personally, you can see you're gonna get a response. And it will be vigorous. Okay? I think we've gone from one member to this board to everything behind us. If you could handle it better, then you should have run a year ago, or for my position.
If you'd like to respond to my statement, you're more than welcome to.
I just
Going
did.
off topic and different things again.
I did not go off topic because it was germane to what was transpired, and the meeting and the whole issue with the Department of Revenue and what they requested, I didn't like, but that's not your
My
fault.
topic was you allowing someone to slander me at a public meeting. when it would not be me.
Okay, okay, so noted.
That was my.
So noted. Whenever you're ready to reorganize, you got it.
I will look into the procedure and hopefully.
There's no
have that on the
procedure.
agenda
You
for
can do
next-
it, you could do it right now if you wanted.
Well, I would make a motion, we reorganize the board.
Okay, is there a second?
I would like to think about that before I do anything tonight.
Very good.
I just so you know, I understand how you feel, okay, Greg? I also understand Charlie's position. He really is trying to give everybody a chance to have a voice, and sometimes it doesn't come out in the right order, and so he let Richie speak. And then I stated a side of the argument, and my feeling, and I'm not saying I'm right, but my feeling was he saw that both sides were stated and didn't feel he had to step in because, one, it was out of order, so he didn't want to continue to add and add and add to the conversation, because it was out of order. And second, at that point, both situations were stated, and the public had both sides of the story to rely on what's the truth. And I'm just saying from my perspective, now I'm not you, so I'm not even, I didn't see it, I lived it, I didn't really go back and rewatch it.
I did.
So I definitely understand you've got a whole different perspective than I could ever get. And you're seeing it as somebody that's watching the camera where I wasn't. So I was living it, and so the way I experienced it is totally different than how someone out there may have saw it. So I give you
We've
that.
had issues before that have come up.
I don't think you've had very
specifically
many,
listed-
my
listed
friend.
before, and
I don't
stopped
think
and
you've
said,
had very many with
we
me.
shouldn't have that discussion because it's inappropriate, and stop the discussion, not continue.
Okay, I don't think you've had very many
That-
issues
That was my feeling.
with
on
me.
it.
And I understand that.
Tried to make sure our meetings were open for you, and what you wanted to discuss, we did. I don't think I've ever done anything like that, but, you know, if you want to make a change, you can do that. And
We can, as Matt said, he wants to look at that another time, not tonight, so
that's right.
we don't have a second, we should move on and continue our meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
And I will
so noted.
look into
and
that for another night,
you
and.
You certainly can do that, but,
Absolutely.
and.
I definitely understand where you're coming from, though. This would be
Okay.
harder for me than what Paul just mentioned without any prep of, could you make a decision on? So it's just something that's hard for me to just say, okay, let's do it, Greg, because
Okay.
I need to really, before I would do something like that right now.
That was my initial suggestion, that soon, that I'll look into the proper process, not necessarily, but
Understood.
if the offer was made to allow it tonight, I would have certainly put it forward.
Okay. Chief, I think you wanted to, you're just here for one issue.
I believe it's, yeah, just one issue. We're
Very important issue, I hear.
It's very important. We're talking about Halloween,
Mhm.
setting the hours. And basically, we've had some discussions. The hours that I want to set are 5:30 to 8. We're talking about starting this year having a contest down on the Commons, somewhat of more of an organized event for the children. 5:30 to 8 o'clock does work with that. It's a progress, it's an idea that we're working on, we'll have more for you. So that's, I just wanted to bring that to your attention and bring those hours to your attention
And that is on Halloween.
on Halloween.
Okay.
What sort of,
We're starting with the idea of a pumpkin carving contest.
excellent.
And we're looking at the idea, because it's starting early, a trunk or treat to draw as many kids, get them down there and using the commons, so. those are
I
two-
was hoping to do something, maybe even make more of a week out of it, do something, a couple different evenings in the week to start to bring people forward. And maybe have the pumpkins displayed and,
I know, because we were just kind of kicking around ideas a little earlier. And one of the ideas I thought of after we talked about, I know that the Berry Business Committee's been looking to do a movie on the Common at some point. Maybe we host it in Town Hall or still in the Common, given the time of year, depending on the weather. Maybe we do a Halloween movie outside, either outside, on that Friday or Saturday.
I've been vocal, I don't know if you've heard before, about trying to get more use of the Common, more things to bring community together on the Common. And I wholeheartedly support doing something like this, as well as hopefully doing more during Christmas. And I know we're getting close out, but perhaps talking to some of the local businesses, maybe they want to set up a booth or a table or do something. If they picked a couple nights and had a couple different events nights, something for the kids, bring people out and try to bring people onto that new Common.
I know it was just mentioned whether or not to do the pumpkin carving a little earlier. The only thing I would object to that just a bit is because you're kind of allowing the opportunity for a little bit of vandalism. You never know what's gonna happen if they're being if it's not being monitored.
We could have a
overnight.
carving night and have them bring them home, then bring them back on Halloween evening for a competition.
Well, I think the thought was
So
not
we
to
can
have an
tell.
actual carving, it was actually to bring like your carved pumpkin in
Well, that would
for
work as
a,
Exhibit.
Right, and we'll work it out, and,
Yeah.
you know, one
Yeah.
good idea leads to another, so.
But I like it.
Yeah, so we're just putting that out now for ideas. I'd like to try to start promoting it, to kind of get it going, and hopefully
And
we'll
the
have something by
hours-
the beginning of.
Are we
October.
typically more 5 to 8, or is it normally 5
it's
to?
usually 5:30 to 7:30, and that's what I put on the
Okay,
agenda,
so
but,
why not?
the
5 to
chief
8.
and I
No, I'm
spoke
good with
after I
that.
had done
I
that.
think people normally are out till 8:30, the latest I'll see, so.
Okay, Matt?
I make a motion to accept trick or treat hours Tuesday, October 31st from 5:30 to 8 PM. Details of the event can continue.
Okay,
A second the motion?
okay, any other discussion?
I just,
Okay,
so you can vote.
yeah,
I
on
have
this?
something, yeah, I have something outside of.
Okay, okay, I'll call for a vote, those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Right.
Mhm.
The one other thing I want to add is that for the candy donations, we are more than happy to collect them, make the police department point of drop off so that we can get the candy out to the businesses.
Okay.
Okay,
Want to make that public?
I'd make a motion to accept that the police department become the town's kind of
Collection point. for
collection point
donations
for donated candies, et
For
cetera.
the businesses on the common.
okay,
Second that motion?
okay, any other discussion on it? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, and we could, if there's enough donations, residents as well, because we do have many residents that live in
Yeah,
that
especially in the
area.
common.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
so we'll work that out, okay?
Right.
Thanks, chief.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so what else have you got?
We're in new business?
Okay, let me take care of the other. Is this related to the first item, or what you have? We can do it right as soon as we get down to the end of new business. Have you got something different for us?
Nope.
No, okay. Okay, we have to make an interim appointment to the Council on Aging for the Director of the Senior Center and Director for the Council. And Andrew, I guess you could turn that over to you.
Yeah, so the Council on Aging served as the screening committee for the interim position. They received 4 applicants. All 4 were considered during executive session of the Council on Aging. And we actually got 4 very qualified candidates as well. It's been recommended that by the Council on Aging to appoint Lorraine Lino to the position of interim director while we conduct the search for the permanent director.
Do you have comment on that yourself personally? Or?
I fully support that decision as well.
Good.
I feel like she would be a great ambassador to the Council on Aging during this transitional period. Knows a lot about the town, obviously, and hopefully in her position I can learn a little bit more from her, from what her experiences in the office.
We're looking to have that appointment effective immediately?
Effective immediately, and then I'd also like kind of a direction from you guys how you would like to proceed with the permanent director search.
Okay,
If you'd
let's
like to-
deal with Lorraine first.
And let's deal with also discuss compensation for the position as well. That's a paid position, is it not?
It is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Would you like me to read this?
I'll just tell you, my recommendation on this is a $39,000 annually prorated based on the amount of time served, based off the same compensation that the previous director was making.
Okay, so we'll base it off the previous director's salary and pay along that rate for as long as she's in that position.
Okay.
Including accruing sick or vacation time as well during that, depending how long she wants it there. Sounds reasonable?
Yep.
Accrue at least sick and vacation benefits just in case. Winter's coming, we're gonna get a sick day, you're gonna get something. Not, I mean, they gotta accrue the time.
I mean, I definitely understand sick time, I just didn't know of all the vacation stuff for an interim is something we'd
I
wanna
should correct,
do.
say sick time.
I'm not-
Let's say sick time and vacation.
Like you accrue a
Yes.
day every 8 days.
Per the
something like that.
personnel policy, when does any of that normally start accruing for a
After
new
a
employee?
year, I believe.
I
Do
think
they
you
get sick time the
vacation-
first year?
No, you get sick time automatically,
Right.
but I think vacation time is after 1 year time served, so. We're looking
So,
at just vacation.
I would
Kind of
think-
just follow the personnel policy.
At most, we're probably only looking at a 3-month period here.
Right.
I wouldn't anticipate
Right.
taking a 2-week vacation in that time frame.
No, I wouldn't think
But-
vacation, but in 12 weeks, we would have 60 days, you would accrue about,
It's a day and a quarter every month.
yeah.
Of
you-
sick time.
It's about a day and a quarter,
Mhm.
yeah, a day every 8 days, I would think, so, no, it's more than that.
A day and a quarter each month
For sick time.
for sick time.
Okay.
Yeah, you get
Makes
approximately
sense.
15 days a year.
Right, so,
So it'd be roughly
about a- about a day a week.
3.75.
I mean,
day and a quarter month.
just as a,
Okay.
just throwing it out there, but, you know, sick time, it's not, you're not able to cash in sick time. It might just be prudent to say that because it's an interim role, maybe we just grant 2 weeks or 2 weeks sick time.
We could just address it as it's needed
Yeah.
too, and just agree that we would allow some sick days within reason.
Within
Yeah,
reason.
looking towards the day and a quarter a month.
Yeah, a day and a quarter a month if it was 3 months.
Maybe not put it in the contract, but-
Would be 3.75 days, so
Okay,
if you say 5 days, that's a week.
a week.
Okay.
No, I just wanna cover that up front,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because
No problem.
given the time of
I
year.
hadn't
it's
put
gonna
much
be-
thought into that before.
That's all. So compensation settled, and you have the position to read?
I would suggest you could also give her 3 paid time off days. Don't call it vacation, don't call it personal, just 3 paid time off days that she can use, whether it's to wrap around the holidays, when sometimes we give them an extra day if they have vacation to use, or however we do
How
that.
about-
It allows her to just,
How about just paid holidays?
she gets that anyway.
Right.
I'm just saying, I don't see a problem giving her
The
give her
ability to take a day here and there.
one
so.
paid day
Sure.
off per month. And so if it ends up being 6 months, you can work, I don't know, do you want, and then cap it is what I was trying to say, so
So a paid day off per month with a
cap of 3.
cap of 3,
Okay.
and a minimum of 1? At least a day off. And
Not
cap-
until she works 30 days. No, just,
Oh, boy, man.
You won't have a problem here.
All right, we'll just give her 3 days
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
You're not gonna have,
so yes.
Just say three personal days.
I mean, she went,
3 personal days and
Oh.
accrue a sick day every.
Just has however, the personnel policy dictates the
For all.
sick time is accrued.
yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
So that can be
That
the
gives the
contract
flexibility
language,
she
not,
needs.
not so much we need to discuss anymore here, but as long as it's gonna be in the contract language, we won't need to revisit
Alright,
that.
so
I make a motion to accept Lorraine Leno as the interim council on aging director at 39,000 prorated for 37 hours per week. With the additional note that she also starts with 3 personal days to use.
And we'll accrue sick
All
time.
other personnel policies apply.
Second that motion as
Okay.
is.
Discussion. I think this is a very good thing for the town. I served with Lorraine for 15 years. She was our administrator, I know. Okay, I'll call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
And now, as per usual, he can sign that contract on his own now that we've discussed it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to come back
Yeah,
before
it's
us.
just,
You
it's a
sign.
labor agreement, it's
Right.
not
Right.
technically a
It's almost
contract.
like a-
But that's up to you now, so
Yeah.
we don't have to see this again.
And she's starting tomorrow, right?
Starting tomorrow.
Excellent.
Okay.
This is a standard employee, not a contract employee,
Right.
so.
Okay, now we need to discuss the other issue.
Yep. So as far as the permanent search, say, my recommendation is to go and, you know, appoint the council on aging as the search committee for this as well. I guess I'm leaving it up to you guys whether or not you want 3 candidates, 5 candidates, or just 1 candidate to go forward with.
Do we want to revert to our 2-week internal posting for this position? We certainly have qualified candidates within town, and although we've discussed before, it's not going to be a bylaw, it has been our policy, and I think it served the town well to stay with that policy. And I would like to post it internally first to see if we can find a candidate that the board is happy with. If they can't find such a candidate, then we can move forward. Doesn't mean just qualify, but someone that is qualified and they're happy with. I'd like to proceed that way before we post it otherwise.
I'd like to have a recommendation from Council on Aging if anybody does apply.
Would you like the 2-week period, review by council on aging, a recommendation before going back out for, an external posting? Or automatically external posting after 10 days?
I would like them to review their candidates to see if it's necessary to post.
If they don't receive candidates in the internal 10-day posting though, just
Then we
immediately
immediately
post.
post, right.
Just don't wait for us to say, post the next day, just move to the next step.
But if they have candidates, they would notify us if they have a satisfactory candidate or they do not, then we'll post. Or, once again, if they say we have candidates but none that are satisfactory, then I think you would post. Sound correct?
Yeah, I'm just trying to be careful here with the
Yeah.
idea of setting a precedent for a department head being, we should do the internal posting process.
So,
Because I don't necessarily, it applies to people at upper levels of management.
so here's.
They can
just-
apply with the rest of the general public at the same time, they just shouldn't get first precedent just
Right,
because they've
this is
been
still,
here.
It's certainly promotional to people that are on that board to be the director of that board.
Say that again?
It's certainly promotional, someone who's on the committee or on the board, it would be a promotion for them if they wanted to be director of the board.
You
In other
talking
words,
about the council on aging?
Yeah.
if somebody on the council or somebody else in town that wants to step up to
Mhm.
a bigger position in town, if somebody works part-time or somebody, if they're qualified. If they're not qualified for what the council is looking for, then they're not qualified. But if we have
Do
qualified
we have a
candidates.
bylaw about people stepping down from positions before they can?
Before they can apply?
Right.
there's
I'm
general
not sure if we have that.
Well, the thing is, the Council on Aging, unless we give them the authority or pull them in like we're recommending, they don't really have any authority over who's the director. We just revise that per state law. We updated it saying they report directly to the town administrator, not the Council on Aging, so it's legally not quite the same conflict of interest it may have been previously.
No, in some communities, if you were to apply for a position that you worked under.
That's what I'm saying.
You worked above,
they-
you would have to step down for so long before you could apply.
But the
question
director
is that
does
they're
not
yeah.
work under the Council on Aging. They're just an advisory board to advise the town administrator on activities that the director should or shouldn't be doing at the senior center.
Gotcha.
Or how, so that's what I mean, they're not actually an authority having actual,
Authority having jurisdiction.
thank you. And
Right.
so I think that's where
It's-
the state law would be gray.
Right. It's
But I would
promotional as
recommend
far
if
as-
somebody's on the Council on Aging and they want to apply,
That's what I mean.
they should
It's-
file with the town clerk stating that they're on the Council on Aging, and please know that
Mhm.
this is who I am.
For the record, none of the none of the council on aging members applied to serve as interim, so that might be telling. So-
And it could be someone else that
Yeah.
has a part-time role with the town that would
Understood.
be interested, or someone on a different committee that would be interested in stepping in. I'd like to look at town personnel first that are already working with the town, is my point.
So, I'm assuming that you want to see one candidate brought forward rather than a certain number of candidates for your consideration.
If more than one is qualified from the town, then no, I think we
Yeah,
want
I
to see
think we'd
them.
leave it open a little bit.
Leave it open.
I just didn't want to see it as, all right, we want to see 3, but we got 1 internal qualified candidate, so now we have to externally post to fill those other 2.
I'd want to see the internal candidate before we, if we're satisfied, why would we post?
Okay, Jim? Sorry, I was
Well,
thinking about,
I know you were thinking, I could see the smoke,
yeah,
but what I'm trying to get at in there, why don't they do it the same way we did the police chief thing? You bring up 5 candidates, present it to the committee.
Yeah.
Let them pick 3 out of however many they get 5, they pick out 3 certain ones, and then you guys vote on which one that they want.
This is,
Same kind of procedure.
yeah, it's not quite as big a position as
No,
police
it's
chief.
not, but it's still important.
And it is important, and I think if we can find qualified
Mhm.
people in town, we should stick with our qualified people in town.
Oh,
And
I'm
we're
not
we're still
debating
vetting
that,
them, we're still vetting them, we're still asking them to meet the standards that are put
Right.
forward for the position. They've gotta be vetted to qualify. Doesn't, just because someone says, I wanna do the job, doesn't mean they're qualified.
Right, I'm not
But,
debating that issue.
but I'm just saying, I'd rather
Okay.
look here, if we have two people qualified here or one, I'd rather consider them by themselves. And if we're not 100% convinced, sure, then we can take them with outside personnel after. But I wanna
Get
take,
the three
I wanna,
in-town
I
first.
wanna go back to the policy of the 2 weeks internally in this town.
Mhm.
Was the intention to try to promote from within and keep the community involved in things in the town and keep this local.
I agree with you 100%.
And I think going outsourcing for police chief was actually a smart idea. We had enough issues in the past. It was a good time to outsource
no
and
issue
start
with that.
fresh with that.
I love the guy, I've met him personally 4 or 5 times, and as far as I'm concerned right now, he's doing great.
I
Well,
think so, too.
anyway, the opposite side of that is it can give the appearance that it's a done deal before it started.
Certainly not. If they're
Well,
not
I-
qualified and we're not happy with them, then it's
Well,
still very clear.
I
about that.
understand that, but it's like, you know, there's two sides to that argument, and your side is not wrong, but then the other side of the coin, and you know, if you have it open and everybody has the chance, you can still hire from within. But at least this way, it doesn't look like it's kind of, the appearance of things is just as important too.
Right, but the policy of the town that was always adhered to in the past was pretty clear that we would post internally for 10
Well,
days,
yeah,
for
we
2
have, we
business
do
weeks.
that anyway.
Because we want to give the opportunity for
Mhm.
people, and the appearance of going outside for us is exactly opposite. It's telling people we're kind of looking outside because we don't think we have anybody we have no idea who's going to step up, if anybody.
Right.
Perhaps nobody's this is not a high-paying job.
Right.
Perhaps nobody's interested in it. But if somebody is, I'd certainly like to consider someone local that has a tie to the people, tie to the community, and tie to the town.
Yeah.
First. That there's no harm in it, we have an interim, there's no harm in a 10-day delay,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Okay, so what would are you in agreement with that, or?
I'm in agreement with doing internally first. If it only shows one person applied, we'll go through the process, we'll vet. This isn't an executive session process in my mind, especially with an individual person coming before the board saying, I'm the one person in the 10 days to apply.
Yeah.
I would recommend, though, that if we do get one person, we see if the Council on Aging can attend our Board of Selectmen meeting and we jointly discuss that individual.
Mm-hmm.
And if for any reason we don't agree, we just move forward with starting all over externally, go with it.
And they're welcome to apply to that external posting.
And at that point, I would want a minimum of 3
Yes.
and a maximum of 5.
Okay.
Okay, so I will give you that, a minimum of 3, maximum of 5, and if you think you only have 2 candidates, go ahead and let us understand that the third one we're already gonna say no to, but give us the third one anyway. I don't need you to worry about if, oh, the third one's so bad. We'll figure it out, I'm pretty sure we'll figure out if the third one's that bad, we
I
can,
hope so.
so just give me 3 to 5. That's my request, and other than that, I'm not gonna get into the nitty-gritty about the details of the search committee, other than all legal public posting requirements.
So how about I have a motion to post for 10 days internally?
Mm-hmm.
If we don't have more than one candidate,
Go externally.
well, if we only have the one candidate, we will meet with the Council on Aging to deliberate whether or not we would move forward. And if that does not work out, then we will post externally with 3 to 5 candidates brought to the board.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote in favor.
Aye.
Okay,
Got all that, Fay?
thank you.
I'll watch it over again.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. That was a lengthy.
Sometimes it does
I
help.
think I can type fast enough until everybody starts rambling and then I'm like lost. Forget it, can't type that
Well, we're
fast.
sort of saying the things back and forth until someone puts it in motion for them, so
I get
it's
it.
so moved.
We'll get it straightened out.
Yeah. Okay, and now we have another donation of land, this one off of Vernon Avenue in South Barry, and I don't know who wants to, okay, Ron, come right up into the,
Do you have a copy of the cover letter sent by
Yep.
Mr. Higgins? Okay. As you know, R.T. Curtis owns these 3 parcels in, off of Vernon Ave. They have, there's one that has frontage on Vernon Ave, there's one that goes down the side of the old railroad bed, and then the remaining parcel borders our town well. And so this is Vernon Ave here, and it goes down along the side, and the road actually comes in, and this is our town well right here.
Okay.
Mhm.
And this is the one they're proposing to,
All 3
All 3.
parcels.
which 3? I'm
There's
sorry.
one here, this long one is 22, and the
Oh, okay,
frontage
thank
on
you.
Vernon Ave is 21.
Okay.
think
Oh,
this
and
is-
Boston Albany is
this
the
your-
railroad track
it's
that.
just- I think
okay.
it's your right of way, isn't it? You're right there?
That's correct.
Yeah, the right of way continues, starts, goes over here and comes in down
I
there.
actually have a copy of the assessor's reports on all 3 parcels, so they're all taxed
Okay.
by the town. So, as you can see in the cover letter, it was due to poor access topography and wetlands issues that they would like to donate it to the town, or they said the Conservation Commission, but I was gonna leave it up to you gentlemen to decide which way you wanted it left up.
The Boston Albany piece, is that railroad tracks, is that our right of way over this other land, or is it the train's right of way over that land?
I think the train tracks are still there, Ron,
I
right?
think
Yeah,
it's Central
train
Mass
tracks are there.
now owns it, right?
Yes,
Like,
correct.
So
Central
that's,
Mass.
it's the Central Mass Rail that I think heads, down towards Palmer eventually.
Yes.
And is there an access road beside the tracks as well?
Yes.
As part of it?
It goes up down to the,
And that's our
I think
access
it's
to
on
the
the
well?
left.
it goes down to the
Yeah,
town well,
I
right?
highlighted them here, yeah.
Okay.
It's on the left-hand side of the tracks when you're driving in, correct?
Yes,
Like you cross over the tracks and drive down?
correct,
Yeah.
yes. So we had sent them a response, and I've been in contact with Mr. Higgins. We were just unsure, we need you to ratify your position as well, and then if that goes forth, whether it has to be brought to the town at a
Town meeting.
town meeting.
This once again has a 21E file recommendation.
We recommended
Yeah,
that he file it, and they were in agreement with it.
Being along the train tracks there especially, I
So,
think
yes.
that would be wise.
And I have walked the property, part of the property. I haven't walked the whole thing yet. Mr. Fleming and I did a view of the property already, and we can't see anything abnormal with the property. It's actually very nice down there. It's a nice meadow at the well.
So now that's what I was talking about last time, something in it for the town. It's owning the right of way to the well, and it's the conservation land around the well. That's something in it for the town.
I had contacted Jason Pimentel about it, and he said that is fantastic, because they've told them before, any land that they can get within a mile of a town well
Yeah,
is a win.
that's within a mile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially to be watershed to the well and any other reason, it's,
Sure.
I like it.
Mhm.
And it can be viewed by anybody. I mean, we could go down and do a site walk if you would like, so.
There's a brook that runs through it.
It's 48.25 acres total.
So they ask if there's any interest. Is this something they want to donate, or is this something they want us to purchase? Because I don't see that spelled out clearly here.
Donate the land to the town of
Did
Barry.
they? Wait, oh, am I looking at the wrong letter now? Yes, no one, I went to the wrong letter. Never mind. the next page here.
I just didn't want
It's
to
not
get,
in that one.
I wanted to,
I was reading a letter from the committee.
from the Concom, yeah,
From the committee.
okay.
Okay, excellent. I would move that pending the result of the 21E.
Does this kind of just start going uphill this way?
This way, it's fairly
Yep.
flat in this area, and then this goes up in here, and there's a wetlands in here, in this area. Yep.
Were you saying that this was partly where that potential rail trail question was coming up, where we might extend through, or?
That would be it, or even.
Actually-
Oh, right down next to it by the.
Actually, there's another right-of-way that comes down, be about through here, at what used to be a town road years ago, and it actually will come out down off of Burnett Ave. It went down through our place, and it was actually a town,
Oh, yeah?
yeah, so,
I think Jason had said something about it, and it came out down by the well somewhere.
yeah, it does, it comes out at the top of the meadow there, up on the knoll, there's a little, you got the well field, and then it goes up a ways, and then, okay. Mary Jane?
This is sort of abutting me after the railroad tracks. Are we taking any roadways or excess roads from there? What does the town plan to do with this donated land?
Right now, we don't have any plans, we're just getting it presented, and
Open land.
it's a protected, it's,
Protected?
well, I don't know.
Wetlands?
It's not all wetlands.
No,
But it's next to our well, so.
It's next to our well.
It gives
as
us,
it goes upward towards the bin, the storage bin of Salem's property,
Yep,
are you gonna make an egress off of that property by perhaps the marijuana factory that's going?
no, I don't think so.
I don't.
It doesn't connect either.
I don't think the
It doesn't
intent.
connect?
No,
It's somewhere up there,
Well,
right?
The
This
intent
is the
of this
marijuana
isn't to
piece right
use the
here.
land.
Yeah, but this is the parcel.
Yeah, I guess you're right,
This
Shelley,
is the
yes,
parcel
yes.
right here, and it does abut. This is where Eddie Cole used to live.
The other end of the parcel that they're proposing.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, it'd be right in here, this is the main body, you got the
Yeah,
high
it goes up
tension
in
lines
here,
right
right.
there,
Yeah,
this
you're
is
right.
backs right up to the transfer station.
My land is H35, is anything to do with anywhere near there, that's something, you're proposing something here that I don't know about?
No.
No, we're not proposing anything, we just had an offer of gift of the land.
To the town, and the town can do what they please? To
Once we
save
get it, yeah,
To
yeah.
preserve it, to not use
Conservation.
it?
Could be conservation, could be
We want-
anything,
we
yeah,
want-
we're not,
The
Do you have-
Conservation Commission would like to leave it in conservation.
yeah.
It is
It
open
would-
land, it's near our well.
It would be a better,
It's nice down there, but behind my home is like a Sahara Desert,
Yeah.
which was not been reforested from what they raped the land of the good earth up there, and they left it, they were supposed to reforest it, nothing was done, so you've got dirt and dirt bikes and people that you wouldn't want to have behind your home out there.
What's
On this
What?
land?
the approximate acreage, would you say of that?
what?
That's
Fire
about
trucks go
48,
out there, they
well,
have fires
45
because
acres.
of
Oh, yeah, 42.
groups of people that go
42.
up there,
Because
in
one-
there.
One of the parcels is,
I don't think we've
6
been there in a
acres,
while,
and
have we, the
other
fire
one is-
department? I don't
is
recall.
A little small.
Okay.
That
Am I reading this right now? It's all.
road that.
Residential zoning?
along
This
the
chunk
railroad-
here was
goes
part
on
of
the
our
railroad
farm.
tracks
This one
and
is
into
all
those woods.
residential, or is this something else?
This one
Called a campground?
is gravel, I believe it was.
Yeah, I don't know, I see Jim's noggin nodding.
This one here is APR, and it used to be part of our farm, that's APR, so. you're
Right,
quite
but
a-
not for,
And I think this one
over
here
decades.
might be part of the,
Oh, yes.
Not
we
for
backed
the
up
last
to the state
decade.
forest,
Oh,
I
yes.
think this might be that part of it.
Last 20 years.
Yeah, so it's quite a block here.
I lived there a little
You'd
longer
have
than
this.
that.
Yeah, I know, I'm
this,
saying the last decade,
And
not
where
so
we
much, so
had was
whatever
APR, and it
activities there is.
continues on down to,
Before that.
Old Ham Road, right?
yeah, well, they don't call it Woods Road or.
Woods Road, right?
Yeah.
What would that parcel be? 'Cause
What?
any roads go to this parcel?
That's part of our, that was part of our farm.
Charlie's old farm.
Yeah, but right now it seems to be a,
It's APR, it's protected land.
okay. I don't know enough about, like, who would own that, what's that mean?
It's owned as farmland.
Yeah, it's owned as farmland
Okay.
by the people that own the farm there now.
Yeah.
That area there was actually there was some wetlands issues here
Yeah,
and
down
there.
in through here.
And they did a heavy cut about
Yeah.
10 years ago in there.
Over 48 acres.
Yeah.
Maybe
Big
15,
underland.
but nothing else has happened since.
Yeah, so it'd be brought up through, well, it can't be here, because that goes, this is, where Duplessis is, it comes down from there, so it'd be about over through there somewhere, I would guess. And that's,
So at this point, are you looking for us to make a motion to approve it, or just a motion to support it? Because you're saying this ends up going before the town anyway at some point, right?
Well, I would assume so. I would.
Because it is land acquisition, we can't just do it ourselves.
Right, and so I would like that, but also I think that we'd want town council just to look over these.
Yeah, and or does anybody know if there's, again, any tax issue or liability outstanding for this property that we would have to
We can
consider
check
in the
tomorrow.
transfer
We
of
can
land?
check,
Yeah,
but
we
they
can
didn't
check
mention
tomorrow.
anything to me
Okay.
about it.
No,
went to
I love the idea.
I
I
went to
just,
the assessors
Again.
and so I didn't wanna keep this from contacting them again and making sure that we're moving forward
Yeah.
with our answer.
I would make a motion to support this pending any financial situations that
Mhm.
may not be beneficial to the town.
Second motion.
okay, further discussion. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, in favor? Thank you. Okay, thank you, Ron.
Real quick question.
Yes.
Where are they putting that kayak launch, or thinking of putting it? I keep seeing reference to 30 Nip Nap, and that's not Fire Station 2. I looked at the map the other day and said, that's a long walk.
Yes, and that's not feasible. They wanted to do it off the end of Maple Lane down there, which is by the ball field in South Berry Plains, goes down the end. And there's just not enough room there, and also then you'd be going out through the meadow.
I was gonna say marshy before you get to the
Oh,
water
yeah,
out there.
you'd have to build some kind of, so Jason and I convinced them, listen, we want you to look at over by the bridge,
That's where people.
where
launch
everybody
The
goes.
south side of the bridge.
Yes,
On,
and we
yeah.
can make that work. After we showed them that, they were very happy with it. They said, we can make this work.
All right, cool. So what I was envisioning anyway is what it ends up that looks like they're doing.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're talking about, well, somebody will have to file a notice of intent. We haven't figured that out yet. So once once CMPC or whatever.
Oh, right.
I think you got it right.
CMRPC.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
once they do it, we'll find out who's gonna file an NOI and, but they were looking to put in a dock as well down there.
That'd be nice.
Grade it down, you have to have it graded for, I believe, disabilities and handicaps, so it has to have a
Mhm.
certain slope to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They should have the room for that, I
But,
think. They have to
they-
come away
they-
from the bridge a bit.
They had brought along a gentleman that was very versed in it, he did it in Athol. And they put a tremendous dock in on the Millers River in Athol. And it was nice, and the gentleman had a lot of information that we could use, and he's, asked.
Yeah, I
said that
worked
he would
on,
help us and
I
work
worked
with
at,
us.
just,
Okay.
I worked on the handicap fishing pier over at Quabog Pond, there's quite a thing over there,
Mhm.
we did a lot, yeah, it was an interesting project. Mary
Is that
Jane?
one of our tributaries to the
Are we talking about
Quabog?
the rail trail?
What?
We talked about the rail trail putting it through that area?
That's the Ware
No,
River.
Southbury on,
Because
we're talking about-
Wheelwright
We might have to be
Road,
careful.
Over on Wheelwright
Building
Road,
docks
there's a bridge
if it's
where
part
they
of that
launched the
ownership
and
tax
kayaks on the
Quabog, that's
river.
all.
Okay.
But we can,
We're not,
Agreed, but I think we're
has
past
this
that.
donation of land have anything to do with the rail
Same
trail
type of
going
water
through?
that you get
And
in
where it's
over
gonna
at,
be connected
Old
to
Colebrook Road
Berry
there
Plains
with that
from
bridge.
Rutland?
It's the same waterway.
It's not gonna go through the
Down
same,
behind
as
IGA
the
and
town will
everything.
get?
I don't know that for sure, but it.
Well, from there,
no,
it
we don't
goes
know
down,
where they're gonna
And then
put
it
the trail
goes
through, we have no
down
idea.
Vernon Ave across from,
So this has nothing to do with
The
why
transfer
the
station.
town is
Yeah.
receiving the
and
land, so
then
that
that
they
waterway
uh,
takes it all the way down
increase the
to
to
rail
the river
trail.
down.
Wildwood,
Not at
By
this
Clovis
point.
Clovis store
reload,
down there.
goes
right?
under the
It's
bridge
down
there, and then it comes out down at Walnut.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Conversations, I apologize.
Okay,
One follow-up on that.
Yep.
I just wanted to mention that if that does move forward, I'm just bringing it up because I know we've been talking about that special town meeting stuff.
Mhm.
And that's something we'd probably want to put on that if we want to approve a private company doing something on town property. so far, they've been saying they'd do it for nothing. You know, so, and I know that they had asked me, and I said, talk to the DPW and superintendent, so
So,
he
you
might
guys-
ask the right questions
as far as the
for
Barry
long-term
business-
maintenance.
As far as Barry business community doing it? Or-
Yeah.
Okay.
And so,
Well, and-
right, so
And
it
we can
would
open
just
and
be
close the
something.
warrant, what, up to probably mid to late October, if we're going for mid-November?
Something
we
like
can
that. I
always
just
open-
wanted to bring
open
it
at
up
it
so
and
that
close
maybe
it
more
if
than
we
just
need
me
to.
had to
Right.
remember.
Same thing with that land, if that land was ready, we could put it on.
You could just do a
Yeah.
placeholder right now.
Yeah, you make
Right,
a
the
space.
detail's
and
not
then
in place,
just-
but
If
just,
it's not ready, you don't
Do
do
a
it.
placeholder.
It's simple. Okay, did selectmen have anything to
I
report?
just have one more thing
Okay.
right here,
Still
the
have
appointment
time.
of the Dana Stoddard to the assistant
Oh, that's
chief
right, I'm
auditor.
sorry, yep, yeah.
We haven't received a wage authorization, but if you guys wanna go ahead and make a motion to approve that, when we get the wage authorization, we can handle that.
We can come sign that after the fact.
Mhm.
Yeah, we covered this at their meeting, didn't we?
You
Last
probably
week.
voted to appoint him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, we
So-
did.
So we just have to
We'll do it
officially.
again now as
Well, As a
selectmen.
board, yeah, we need to do it as a board now, so. I make a motion to appoint Dana Stoddard to the assistant chief water operator.
I second that.
Okay, discussion, hearing none, I'll call for a vote, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now we're down to that.
Now, did you have anything else? No. Okay, I guess selectmen's reports, or,
Well, that primarily was kind of at that, with the kayak launch, I knew it was something they were discussing. They had asked me about it, just because I was at the meeting, and I said, it would be a good idea to speak to the Conservation Commission and the DPW superintendent, because I believe they would either have the most input in the installation or the long-term maintenance, and what the town might be taking on if we say, go ahead and build it, now we gotta maintain it. They're still working through some of that, I'm guessing, but it's just in progress. But I do
A
believe
lot of people launch.
as it
canoes these
develops, we'll be closer and closer to really needing the town to just say, yeah, you can do that on our property. So that's why I suggested we can make sure it gets on the warrant.
days. It's a good community thing. I think there's a lot of people, especially in the spring when they do those canoe races, a lot of people launch down there. I always see boats down there, so I think it's a.
I'll
It's a
admit,
good
I have
thing
a
to do for the
personal
public.
interest. I would really enjoy it. I'm not gonna lie to anybody out there, but that's not
And
why
I
I'm
would
doing
swear
this. I
I'll
didn't
go
come up
watch
with the
boats up there, I never
idea.
will.
My hometown was actually just awarded a grant to build one off the Swiffer,
Okay.
through Mass DEP. So that, we might be interested in touching base with them, that they might be, able to fund that project for us,
Oh.
rather than asking.
Why don't you do that for us? Thanks for
I will.
volunteering again, Andrew. Jeez.
I just got the, I
You're
I
good
just
at
got,
this job.
I got the invite for the official awarding of the grant, so I was
Okay.
gonna hope to, reach out to them and go, who did you talk to get the ball rolling on that, so.
God, if you got really ambitious, you could actually paddle up to Barry, right? Down the Swift River into Three Rivers
Maybe a
and
change of clothes. and-
back up to Ware River.
I mean,
Really
Cars
got
out right by my house.
ambitious. If you were
Currently-
really,
Electric trolling motor for that.
This idea is being promoted to be privately funded 100%.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the business
Right.
community of Barry is pursuing the grant, and this is actually helping them with the whole movie night funding. It's like a 50-50 contribution thing with the grant, so this is one of the things they needed to help reach their minimum 50%. So I'm just throwing that out, that was one of the things, and like you said, it may turn into something where additional funds don't hurt.
Yeah, we can always reallocate funds to another project, there's plenty going on there.
We can always have municipally owned canoes or kayaks that people can,
It'd be great to have a
Take
put
out
in and
a-
a take out somewhere else, so.
that would be nice too.
Yes.
To have a second location. Good.
That was always
Okay.
our concern of going in.
did you gentlemen have anything you wanted to report?
Mhm.
Well, we're gonna get ready for this guy's big report.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
I won't
Right
read
right
line
now.
by line, I'll try to just summarize, so.
Thank you,
Anyway,
Chuck.
new town website, we're getting going, they just kinda set us a template website now that it's very, very basic, it just has some basic B-roll pictures of it, it says Town of Barry at the top of it with no content whatsoever, but it allows us the opportunity to just kind of play with the back end stuff, kind of work, and I basically told them that I want the full build out before we do any sort of training on it, because I want people to know what they're looking at as they're being trained on it, not, I was trained on it, but it looks 100% different than real
Yeah.
life. So, that's progressing. We should still be on the same timetable. They and Andrea have been working hard with Viewpoint. They're pushing to be the fastest turnover in the state as far as switching from an old permitting system to a new permitting system. So they're still looking on that October 2nd timeline. I think it was, what, 28 days from?
Really?
28 days, yeah, we're gonna try to beat that.
Yep.
We have two
Power to
trainings.
ya.
We have two trainings this week. One's gonna include everyone that'll use the software, and one will be for Andrea and I, again, on the administrative end.
Okay.
So we're chugging along as fast as we can.
Yep, so, the public safety building, I kinda gave you guys an update, earlier, but I'm pretty confident that we'll have a contract signed tomorrow on it, pending I don't read it and see anything that, stands out as being an issue. They say, I know I'd sent the board an email on Friday about some frustrations I was having, primarily on, some contract language that changed between us our initial conversations and then what was presented, which was much higher than what was presented, and then turned out that, well, they packaged a deal that we weren't even, that I guess was originally presented at the beginning, that we weren't even looking to move forward with. And then they threatened to jack the price back up if we didn't include it. So that's kind of where my frustration email came from that.
Yeah.
So, did a little bit more negotiating today, and we have the number that we like with the scope of services that we like, and now we just need a contract to sign.
I see you
Does the-
wanted to acknowledge Donna.
Yes, and I definitely wanted to acknowledge Donna Farmer from Representative Berthium's office and Stephen Brewer. Both of them have just been integral in getting Charter back to the table on this, because when it was first brought to my attention and I was trying to reach out to Charter, I was getting nothing. Basically emails going out to nowhere, phone calls that were saying, we'll get back to you with no response, but after getting both of them involved, they were very, very responsive. So,
Good.
On that, do you need the contract signed before you can request a work order number?
yes.
Okay.
And as soon as I get that signed is when I'm gonna have the SPU
Give me
two.
the work order number now,
Yes.
because you need that before they'll even schedule it. That's why I'm
Right.
trying to
Yeah,
figure
yeah.
out.
Once the name's on the dotted line, back over to them, I should have a work number.
Okay. Internally, outside of Charter, are we done with everything we need for Charter to just come in, land their wires, or we still got more work we gotta get done?
Some peripheral, as far as the computers and printers that still need to go in there and just take it out of the box and set up. There was some work I was discussing with the chief earlier that was supposed to be done by today with the smart board and computer setup that wasn't done. That was one of the issues that I said I was pretty frustrated about. That wasn't, because it was something that was brought up a month ago, that today was the deadline, it didn't happen. So, there are still things that need to be done outside of Charter, but nothing that isn't internet related.
Okay.
So,
And I would assume no matter what, you can only get so far until the internet's active, till you can start programming things and doing
Right, I mean,
things.
there's
Well, right, but I mean, if you still gotta pull a wire to a room's junction box and
That's-
terminate it on a plug-in plate,
right.
you don't want
That
that
should
be
have all
sitting
been
there
done
and Charter show up and tie you in and go,
All of that has been pulled. To my knowledge, the computers have been set on the desks, and the switch box needs to be put into,
The
needs to be
network
put
switch?
the actual, no, I'm sorry, the network switch is in there. It's just the Charter box. Once they run the line, Charter comes in with the box and plugs it in.
It's still Charter.
I got you.
Yeah, it's still on Charter, so. All right. So, let's see.
Like you gotta do your
Fire
day.
department job descriptions, I had said I was gonna have something for this meeting. There were a few other things that got in the way, haven't been able to catch back up with chief on this issue. We'll catch up for next meeting.
He's a trainer.
Yes. So on the financial update side, just to kind of give you guys some information to proceed with the special town meeting. I know that was discussed, taking up some of the things that were brought up by the finance committee and the capital committee prior to the annual town meeting that were taken off before the actual vote because of the uncertainty of free cash. So I kind of reiterated some of those statements that I had said before as far as where our benchmark should be as far as stabilization and free cash. And just noted that we are over the minimum, the minimum recommendation on stabilization, although it's kind of unclear where we really are in free cash without it being certified and knowing that we drew it very far down last year at the end of the year. Given that, if we're gonna go to town meeting, the maximum that I would recommend spending would be $150,000 out of that stabilization account, because it would
Mhm.
still leave you with another $100,000 buffer over what the very minimum recommendation of DOR is, and considering that we don't know where that free cash is just yet, it gives you a little bit more of a buffer.
Mhm.
So I built out these 5 things that would go forward. Obviously, the regional dispatch shortfall from FY16, that's one thing we have to put on there. There was also a $120 bill from Solid Waste Solutions that was just received last week, that would be required town meeting to pay because it's outside of the fiscal year. One thing I had brought up before is, making a committed principal payment on our capital debt service from FY17. We have the ability to roll a bond anticipation note for 10 years at about a 1% interest rate, as compared to long-term borrowing at usually what is about 3%.
Mhm.
So if we continue to roll that band over 10 years and make 1/10 payment on that over, commit to making a 1/10 payment over each year, we'll have that paid off before we ever have to go out for long-term borrowing. I think it's a good strategy as long as we can afford it. But a first step in that would be to make a $83,000, $200 principal payment as that 1/10 on the purchase of the fire truck and the other additional capital projects that were made. It's my recommendation, obviously not it isn't law, but just my recommendation. The 2 other things that I recommended were 2 ALS cardiac monitors, because in fall of FY19, we will need those in order to stay compliant with state regulations for our ALS services through the fire department. The $10,980 represents 1/2 of 1 year of a 3-year lease to own agreement. Year 2 would be double that amount, and about $21,000. Year 3, another $21,000, and then the last fiscal year would be another $10,980 to finish it off. We'd own them, and they should have a life of about 15 years. And then finally, because it's
What should get 15 years? I'm sorry.
it
Cardiac.
should have an operational life of 15 years.
This is
after
what,
that
one
investment.
per bus is what they're doing, is why?
1 per, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then the final recommendation was the new police cruiser. I know that Chief has brought it before you for 2. Obviously, the current our financial status at this time of the year, and only having access to stabilization, really wouldn't call for us to pull $80,000, spend $80,000 on 2 new cruisers. By funding 1 cruiser, potentially, we can get ourselves back on track as far as the keeping up with annually replacing 1, and then after 6 years, basically reaching 100,000 miles, almost being out of service, and then going and purchasing a next one, and basically keeping our fleet rotated, up to schedule. And I provided basically all the information on all the cruisers that we have, the average mileage, ignore the $ in the average mileage, sorry about the formatting issue. Basically the mileages that are currently on each vehicle and the assignment of each one of those vehicles. And as you can see, the Chief's vehicle is well over 100,000 miles. It's on its 2nd transmission now and needing replacement before it goes anywhere else. and that one is purchased all the way back in 2008. And then right behind that, you have the Impala, that's another one that's well over 100, it's over 120,000 miles. And then also the Crown Vic would be the third one, looking into the as far as what our rotation would be. So, just consideration, when I presented this to the capital committee, we didn't have the information as far as the mileage or total mileage or the basically any of the information of our current fleet that I'm providing you tonight, so they didn't provide a recommendation on that, but just given this information,
That's a lot of
I'm presenting it
miles.
to you.
That's a lot of miles. One thing in particular that we dropped off at the annual meeting that I really wanted to see addressed in the fall was the tax title. We were going to allocate money towards tax title. We didn't do that. I believe we funded 5 out of 50. And from what I understand, that 5 actually went towards court costs and other things. So we probably still need to fund 50. And I think that's pretty important to move forward, that's something that will return revenues in spades, and we're going to lose some of these if we don't act on it.
I
So
consider that, I
think-
just didn't have it for the capital.
Yeah, I
so.
think it needs to get on that priority list if we're gonna break into stabilization.
Mhm.
Because that's something that will return money, maybe not in 6 months or 8 months, but within a year or so, we should start to see money back on that.
Right.
10 times what we invest in it, so I would think we've gotta
Yeah,
figure out.
I agree.
Maybe before we get into the 83,000, I know it's lower interest borrowing, but this isn't gonna cost, this is gonna.
No, I agree with
And
that.
then perhaps in June, revisit your band principle then.
Okay.
My thought.
Yeah, I
You guys, need to have your
agree,
input
there's
as
been
well.
some maneuvering around on that number.
We didn't cover the regional dispatch shortfall with our transfer funds.
Mm-mm.
No,
This
this was
was
from
from the
FY
year before.
FY 16.
It's 2 years out, year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is it still?
I'm not sure.
Shouldn't be, but it
Okay.
is.
Didn't
We'll
realize
make
that was
sure
sitting
it
there.
is.
Yeah,
We'll
just,
make-
I
Make
I'd say it's probably something that was probably supposed to be brought up at the annual and was missed.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't mean it to blame someone, I was
No,
just,
that's my best.
You
best
verify that with
recommendation.
accounting too, to make sure that that is legit? Okay.
But yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't have that information.
I
on the tax
appreciate you
items.
working all this. I like the better understanding of the stabilization fund as we talked about, as much as I dislike taking money out of it until we have an idea of free cash. These things need to be addressed, and I agree, we're gonna have to take stabilization to address them. But I would like the agreement from the board that we're gonna replenish that free cash, from free cash back into stabilization if we
Mhm.
can. Because I would like to see that, as the recommendation would be, 10% would be closer to $1,060,000. So I'd like to still see it come up, I'd feel comfortable at $1 million, but I'd like to try to work that back up.
Mhm.
If,
Yeah, but how would you
Agreed.
propose doing your capital at annual then?
So.
Depends what we have for free
Right,
cash, and it
I'm-
depends what we turn back. I just say we wanna,
I would say, I'll lead that into kind of the next half of the report, where I just kind of, as a, kind of an exercise, we took our, we have our capital plan. So I just kind of monetized that as far as what it would be if we took everything that was over $60,000 and said, all right, we're not gonna spend $100,000 in 1 year for this one capital item. We're gonna, let's say we'll ban that out over 10 years and do the same kind of proposal that I have provided with putting down $83,000 a year over 10 years. So this is basically what that impact would be on what our general fund would be. And then I moved some things into what would be what would be kind of capital improvement costs. And then ones that kind of remain in that in that free cash amount were things that maybe weren't number one priorities, but dropped down the list a little bit. And we said, all right, we funded our capital liabilities, or our top priority capital liabilities, and we still have money in free cash, let's fund these as well. So that's kind of how I broke that down. And then some of the other ones that were strictly ones that should be paid from enterprise. I didn't monetize those out, but that's just kind of what the impact was broken down. And then ones that we kind of identified could be funded by outside grant funding or Chapter 90 funds were broken out from that. So I guess it's just a little bit more thought to put into your heads. I'll forward you off the actual list of capital projects. But just going forward, instead of saying, let's stick to the plan because the state says we have to stick to the plan, let's consider what the financial impact's going to be on our future, on our future budgets. And I'm hoping that in the next few meetings, I'll have something together for you as far as a forecast of our revenues versus some of these expenditures, and just what our current commitments are outside of capital, and how that's going to affect.
Yeah, this is the way we used to run things, and had X amount of dollars, and we had a capital acquisition fund. That's what I called it. I don't think that's the actual term, but we put money in there, which
Stabilization, however you want.
we can do, which we could do, and we just, kind of like a little savings bank is what it is for this, and then we minimize borrowing.
The
which
good part is it gives your capital improvements committee a budget number, rather than saying, tell us what all of our needs are. Well, what are our
And we'll
needs
figure out
under
what
our,
fund, yeah.
under our budget? If it turns out we have more to spend, that's great, we have options 3, 4, and 5, but generally, what we're taking in for revenues, we might be able to do the number 1 priority, maybe number 2.
If I'm correct, you're recommending in this special town meeting type thing, you said for the capital plan was spend $83,000 to pay off our current debt service?
Yes.
That is a tenth, so we're actually at about $830,000 of debt
So that was.
compared to our
that was-
$745,000 stabilization.
So that was debt service, that was kind of that was on the books for this year. At town meeting, the budget, budgeted enough to cover the interest payment only, because because a principal payment wasn't required. What I'm saying is, the bill might not be due, but let's put a payment down.
Pay down the credit.
No, I
Yeah.
agree, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to see if I got the big picture
Yeah.
numbers right.
Yeah.
Our total debt from the town's perspective right now is $830,000.
Just in those two, just on the capital projects that were approved in FY17. There's a lot more debt.
Okay, so it
a
has
lot
nothing
more
to do
debt
with
on
these
top of that.
other debts and debt
No.
exclusions we still
This is-
have. So
this is
that's my
simply-
question,
this
is
is
where is
simply-
that total debt?
You don't wanna know.
No, I do want to know.
All right, so give me
And if
one
we have the
second.
numbers, or at
Yep.
least a close ballpark for now.
Add a couple
If you
digits
give me
to
one
that, would
second,
be
I
good.
can look that up. Because one of the first things I did when I started was I created a new debt service schedule for all of our debt. Just wanted to address that first, so give me just one second to pull that up. Sorry, I gotta go to my drive.
I understand, and I know that I'm asking you something that maybe you weren't immediately ready to
No,
answer,
it's-
so.
Yeah, I like the idea of paying down some principal, but I think that, if we divert the
It's
money.
eating up our,
Yeah, if we can divert some of that money towards that, the tax titles, we're really gonna get it back, and that would make us more able to pay some debt down.
And even if you,
Bring that free
even if
cash
it was
down.
half that amount, just to bring that number down, then you're paying, then in 10 years, you're paying 3% off a much lower number.
yeah.
I'd like to fund the tax title for what we need to, and put the balance towards that money, and pay some down, as you said.
Let me ask the board this, given this amount of money that we're looking at, do you think it's worth having the special at this point?
Yes.
You do, okay.
Yeah, we did promise
Plus, we've got a
fall.
couple of
What?
those long.
We did promise fall doesn't start till
Yeah, I
September
understand.
21st, and
Yeah.
November's right in fall.
Yeah,
and-
I understand, I just wanted to make sure, because it's,
Bye, Ellie.
No, I-
Thank
night,
you.
thank you.
I do
Thanks
wanna-
for coming,
I do wanna
Ally.
visit the cruiser, 150,000 miles on a cruiser, that's not,
That's
gotta,
nothing,
that's
I got
gotta,
more on my truck, and it's both the same here.
Okay.
I bet they drive it harder.
They
And care
probably
for it
do,
less.
'cause it's not theirs.
You know it. Drive it like you
I'm
stole
just
it.
joking, I'm just joking.
You'll hear from
Um,
him tomorrow.
Is it all right if I give you that offline? 'Cause
Yes.
I just don't have it here.
Okay.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will, okay, I just wanted to ask the board that. Okay.
All right, so, moving on. Stetson School. So, last Wednesday, I met with, Joe Allred and, Peter Gow over at the Stetson School. And I just want to bring up, kind of like start the conversation with those guys. The first time going over, there was administrator, kind of, give the olive branch out, just to kind of, talk, bring up some of our, some of the concerns that were brought up at the last meeting. When I had brought up whether or not they'd come to the select board meeting, obviously we were a little less thrilled about that proposition. They felt that kind of coming to an open board meeting sets themselves up as far as being kind of under attack from the from the board. But, just because it's two of them, the town's just kind of lining up, they're afraid of the questions that that might come out in open meeting and not being fully prepared to answer them. So.
They need to be reminded they use public money. They run on public money.
So-
Understanding that, if they are listening, good pause to, if they have those concerns, maybe they should think why they have those concerns.
Right. So, but anyway, they had said that, kind of offline, they'd be willing to meet with any one of you guys if you wanted to address any specific concerns that you had. I wanted to keep the dialogue open between my office and their office. If you guys want to go between us, obviously I'm just trying, I'm trying to facilitate so that way any concerns that are brought up, we can work as a town to address those with them. And I can come back to you guys with an answer. Obviously, I just don't want it to be how come those guys won't come to our meeting? They should. They probably should, but I'm sure you guys are probably more interested in getting answers than necessarily putting them on a
I
pedestal.
think until we deliberate about it, it's best in your hands, until we deliberate to have something we want to bring. Obviously, if we're gonna go individually, we've got to go there with an intent to get certain information, to convey a certain message, which we don't have at this point. So,
Right.
other than us doing fact-finding on our own, which is what we could certainly do, I think you could do more.
Yep.
And bring us information back.
Right.
And then we could formulate a course of action if need be.
And one thing I've talked to them a little bit about is trying on their own end to reach out with the community, because, kind of the stuff that says that what as far as what happens there, I feel like is part of them not really providing enough public education or public outreach, or making the public feel comfortable enough to go to them to ask questions. So, they're going to be having a ribbon cutting for their new building that they're opening up on site, which they're gonna be moving the students from that are down the street onto campus. So that way there's, they can close kind of an old abandoned building and give the older students a newer, nicer facility. They basically, reassured that everything that they do is, looked at under a magnascope by the state. That there's so many reporting guidelines that everything that they do there comes under scrutiny. So
But
it isn't being unregulated.
The problem with that is I understand the scrutiny they're gonna be under, but we come up with situations, like a week or so ago with the state police helicopter flying around Barry. After our officers has been out for 2 hours searching for 2 individuals, which were missing for over 2 hours before we notified. That's obviously an attempt to avoid the state's notification. They're trying to skirt that scrutiny from the state by not letting people know what's going on. And we're dealing with depending on the kids, the safety of the town or the safety of the children that are missing. There's places in town that, for those of us that don't mind hiking in woods, we know so far we're gonna come out another road, it's not a big deal. But the people that come from cities or other homes, they get lost in these woods, they can get in some serious trouble out here. And being allowed hours without the local input, because we're gonna be better at finding someone than they are. Fire, police, and anything we have in this town. My biggest concern is their lack of notification to us, and I've talked to the chief of police about it.
And I'm going to accompany the chief
I was
at
gonna
his
say,
next
I'd
meeting.
like you to go with him
Yep.
if you can, because he's got
Yep.
that aspect of it, but the similar
Right.
concerns that, the lack of notification that we're given, as he expressed in an email to the board, I believe you all got that, about his discussion with them and that they're not, being forward enough, you know, for us is my concern. I don't know what else you guys wanna bring up for concern, but first and foremost, their lack of notification to us when someone is
It-
getting out of their facilities.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
And that was the first thing that I kind of brought up to them.
It's all over Facebook.
And, you know, kind of from their, I'm just relaying what their perspective on it was, they felt that it was, you know, just, the calling of the helicopter was not something that they wanted, it was something that
They wanted the
was
whole
happening.
thing hushed, is why they
Exactly.
didn't report it,
Yeah.
and that can't happen. They've just gotta own up to it. The fact's a fact, the kid's gone. It's just a fact, he's gone.
Right.
If someone's made a mistake to lead to that, then it should be looked into. They can't hide from the facts, and when they try to, that's what's discouraging and disparaging. And they're hiding from the facts by not. The kid's gone, call the local cops, let them know the kid's gone, he's been gone 5 minutes, and go from there. And report what they have to report and just own it. I think that's the best thing we can say.
Two things. One, on that particular subject, I do think there might be two separate lines of communication they gotta figure out and work with the chief on. One is when you pick up the phone and do the 911 call that goes through dispatch, and when do you pick up the phone and you call the chief and say, we don't need your help right now, but we want you to know, we have people out on our yard looking for these two.
Which,
The
John-
more
John
informal.
specifically said that
We're
as
not
well.
saying we need help yet, but we know they're not in their room. So if we call you back in 30 minutes, it probably means now we're looking for assistance because it's likely they left the property or something.
Yep.
And they can work that out, they understand that much better than I do. Both the chief and them, I mean.
Right.
The other part where it comes to what do we want to do to gather information before we go back to them with some priority lists of what can you do now and what can you do long-term, or how can we keep this up or make it better. This is where I think it's important to start bringing in some of the abutters of the property and the other people, not necessarily with Stetson. This is where we bring them in, whether it's to this board or to meet you or to create a little subcommittee of those that have lived it. But I do believe it's now time to do that. And so you can really bring in the public's concerns. It may be 5 topics said 75 ways, but then you can pull that in and create the main 5 topics we gotta look at, figure it out, and then take those and start working with Stetson and keep us updated as to what you're learning as the major topics.
I have no problem being basically being a liaison to them.
The abutters is certainly gonna have a public impact perspective different than anybody else's.
And my door's always open if any of the abutters have an immediate concern and wanna bring it to my attention.
Look right to the camera and say
Yeah,
that.
so, my office is right upstairs. Still trying to remember my phone number by heart, but.
I got you.
I'll get it one of those
It
days.
says Andrew.
I still accidentally say 413 every now and then, so.
Right.
But that's what I'm here for,
Yep.
to basically be a liaison for the community, in that respect. I say, now that I'm developing that with Stetson, I'd love to do the same with Quabbin. Still trying to get a meeting with them. So.
And I don't necessarily think we need a huge group, but it might be key to get maybe 2 or 3 non-town employees that are you can almost call them like a subcommittee that
Eyes
you
and
rely
ears.
on for input.
Yeah, some eyes and ears down there.
You know, so I think it might be key to really develop a relationship and figure out what works and see who can
love to hear when stuff isn't worst case scenario, so.
Well, there's that part too. I mean, a lot of people don't know it, and it hasn't happened, I guess, recently, but my understanding is some of the Stetson School students also used to help with some of the local volunteer work needed in the town, whether it's similar to like Quabbin's high school students needing their community service to graduate.
Right, and from what I gather, you know, that still goes on, but I don't know if that's being publicized. If they were to publicize that stuff was going on, there'd probably be a better better connect between the community and the school, and
Right.
knowing that they're actually giving back, but without that
Something I would like to
publication,
know.
then it's, the only time anybody hears of something is when there's a helicopter overhead, so.
Something I think we should know, in general in town about the school is, what the general age ranges of their kids. They could break that down to, reasons for being there. No, we don't need their personal records or anything like that, but are these kids considered dangerous? Or are these kids just considered a flight risk, or are they a danger to themselves? You know, we should know what types of students they have there, how many of each type. You don't need their names, you don't need their personal information, but we should know if they have, 12 violent offending students there versus, sexually offending students versus just, troubled home kids that are just there.
So, yeah.
It's important to know what we're dealing with, and when these kids are loose in town, we've been there at the fire department. We did a day for the kids, and they got to come touch the trucks and do things. And when they're looking at the trucks and the equipment, someone let someone hold a picket axe. Everybody in the staff turned white, and they were totally surprised that he didn't immediately swing it at someone's head. That's what they expected. But he had enough respect, luckily for the firemen, and happy that they were there, that he was just thrilled to look at it. He's that bad of a student that they were concerned that he would have immediately gone after and attacked somebody with that in his hand. Those type of students exist there. We need to know how many of those are on. That's a real experience that we really had there.
I know that that they will be putting on some kind of speaker series to talk about some of the behavioral issues that they do encounter. It's going to be as a kind of as a community forum, not as a kind of I want to say not community forum, but just as a speaker series to kind of try to educate the public as far as some of the behavioral issues that they deal with at the school. There might be an opportunity for some people to educate themselves on some of this stuff, but as you said, we could get.
You've probably come across it in fire training, if you do any autism training and things, the different ways that the first responders that it will have contact if they find these kids in the woods have to be aware of when trying to contact that person. It's huge to know those things.
So we'll continue that.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, the last thing I had, last things I had was Nesto Brook Bridge, 62. So I believe we talked about this briefly at the DPW meeting the other day, about basically how the state was coming in and they want to see some action taking on this, and Jason's identified some temporary repairs that can be done, but unfortunately they can't be done unless we actually have some certified engineering plans on this.
Right, which they want the 120 grand for.
Right, that was 120 grand that we have the first initial estimate on. I'll be meeting with Ty and Bond down there tomorrow to take a look at this. I'm hoping that their price is not that high, and it comes into something a little bit more reasonable for us based off the scope of work we're asking to be done.
And these repairs would prevent us from having to get the lights enclosed, or this
Yes.
would be what we do when it's closed?
This is what we do to prevent that from happening. What they're looking to do is basically a temporary fix to bridge the gap till we can get money to actually fully replace it. Unfortunately, because it's over 20 feet, it's not eligible for the small bridge program under the state legislature. We'll have to try to push them to say, hey, reconsider that. You guys sure funded a whole lot of 120 bridges last year. Let's look at those 20 to 40 foot long spans now. So.
Right.
It's gonna be Barry's big dig.
Yeah, no promises there, but, you know, obviously, the first step in that is to kind of bring the people of interest to the table, so, once we kind of have, once we get an engineering firm that we're committed to having a retainer for this issue, I'd like to have them with representatives from Mass DOT, the legislature, somebody from this board, to have a meeting to basically say, this is our priority. If we lose this bridge, we lose a major connection between Hubbardston, which is critical to our public safety infrastructure, and that it behooved the state to dump some money into it, so.
And perhaps the state would be willing to come up with the engineer plans to approve our repairs themselves. Maybe, you know what I
Would
mean,
hope
we
so.
have the plan,
Yes.
maybe the state would provide
So-
the engineering for it instead of us.
Right, and so.
Since it's a state route, that's
Right.
a sort of I see a compromise.
At
there.
least we'll be required to provide the engineering on the repair work. That's a given. The state's not gonna give us any money for that, but the replacement, if the state decides that, yes, it's a town-owned bridge, but we're going to replace it, they'd own everything soup to nuts. So- So, other than that, I'll have a few trainings in the next few weeks here where I'm gonna be out of the office a
Mhm.
lot, so, just as a heads up, I'm gonna be taking, I was out today for the Implementing Best Practices, conference. It was a great discussion with a lot of, the state leaders talking about, a lot of the things that are eligible for the community compact. The big push this year was, they were looking at, kind of pushing a lot of communities toward IT stuff. Thankfully, we had a community compact on that last year, got about $80,000 in new infrastructure improvements, so. As I mentioned for a few meetings ago, I submitted for those financial policy updates and the economic development update. I was lucky enough to sit next to the guy from the state that actually writes those financial management plans, so hopefully gave us a little bit of boost on the rating for that. Then I'll be taking the two MCU PPO supplies and services contracting and design and construction services, 3 full-day classes in Boston, 2 weeks straight. The last week of September, first week in October. So if you're wondering where I am, that's where I will be. Mondays I'll be here, and Fridays I'll do some office time to catch up on the work so it doesn't fall too far behind. And actually right after the 5th, I'll be doing a boot camp for new managers. And actually this Wednesday, there's a Central Mass Managers meeting for CMRPC in Worcester. So full slate for the
For a
next few
second there, I
weeks.
thought that said MMA boot camp. I was gonna say, wow, good
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
Yep.
But I guess
Okay.
not.
No, I don't think that the town will cover that.
Okay, yep.
I think you want to
Which
do
one's in Worcester, which one?
The Central Mass Managers. Today was the implementing best practices was at Holy Cross.
What was the date on it for your Central Mass Managers?
The 20th. It's this Wednesday. Yeah. That one was actually sitting between Zach Blake from Division of Local Services, and on the left I had Janet Pierce from CMRPC, who was edging me to say, hey, did you sign up for that meeting yet on the 20th?
Okay.
Exactly.
You had a
Okay, Mary Jane, you've been sitting here very patiently.
Thank you.
Yep.
I was sent here, to bring up, Ms. Farmer, Donna Farmer, from the Representative's Office, Johnny Berthium. She said it's a town problem that I've
Mhm.
had down there for 5
Mhm.
months. So I'm here on behalf of myself with the problems that I've had since 1899 with the bylaw.
Okay, and
So this is written September 18th, and the warrant closes, the articles that you can put on the warrant. Closing tomorrow, it's been passed in. Did any of you 3 receive this or have this? I've corresponded through the town administrator's office about this warrant.
Okay, you would like it on the warrant.
Yes, I would. It's a bit of a change for that article. That's 84. It's under the chapter 80, peace and good order, and it's 84, the ball playing. I would like to change it. Instead of just the center village of the town, I want it to be Barry Plains and South Barry also. To the annoyance of the people that live where there's a problem with this basketball business, in any public street, for an annoyance to any person. Any public street, not just the town, in 1899. Barry Plains and South Barry streets should be included because we are also part of the town.
Mhm.
I'd like to have that changed, and I have submitted that.
Okay.
And my question is, I have gotten the idea today that I have to have 100 signatures. It wasn't an agreement and accepted by the 3 selectmen, 2 out of the 3 selectmen. I don't know where I stand actually. And I've gotten today 54 signatures that have to go through Lamb Glidden.
Yeah, I believe the signatures have to be on a petition, so you have to take a petition out with the town clerk and then have your signatures
I think
on-
it's yeah.
on those petition forms.
I wasn't told that today. And tomorrow at 5 o'clock, I have to, I spoke to these people and got these. I'm not giving the correct information, and I'm not giving the correct bylaws.
I think
or-
we can decide one way or the other whether they go on. And, in my opinion, if somebody brings something in, if it's
It
that
seems like
danger,
no one
we can
has
just
seen that
place it
bylaw
on.
today.
That's my
It
opinion.
seemed as though you should have.
Access to government is easy as possible.
Not necessarily, we all, well, 2 of us work full-time right up until we get here.
No, I just don't
But it's
do
gonna close tomorrow.
Right.
Well, you're
So my chance to show or ask or petition or to please plead my case with 2 out of 3 to be able to put it on the warrant as one of the articles, where's my chance? If no one's seen it until tomorrow at 5 o'clock, and then I have to get another petition papers of sorts, the town clerk has been closed.
And if this wasn't
I'll
a
have to
special
say it
meeting,
should
if this
have
was
been
the annual
sent to
meeting, you
us.
only need, I think, 10 signatures. So
Actually, you don't need any.
You could do
Whether we
We
agree or
decide to
not.
put it
Well, no, if
on.
we decide you don't, but if you want to bring a petition in the
Taking
future
anything
forward,
into
if you
consideration.
do it at the annual town meeting, I believe you only need 10 signatures. It's something very low.
But
and
still,
easy.
those 54 people, I was gonna get the other 100, to get 100 another, the rest of the 50 tomorrow, and perhaps some extra ones, if you need be, if she decides to cross some out for some reason or another. Now I'm telling her it has to be another piece of paper. It's getting difficult to live in this town.
No, usually, just for your knowledge now, if you are told that you're gonna need to get signatures to support something, you have to go to the town clerk's office and ask for the official form.
It's not gonna be open until tomorrow. And it's 5 o'clock tomorrow that it closes.
It's Monday, right?
She's not gonna be
She's
there
not
until
open today.
Tuesday.
She's
Why?
closed. She was
Right,
closed
well, she's
Thursday
not
and
there
today.
now, I'm sure.
Okay.
You closed it.
Well, I mean, that's why I was asking, because a lot of times she wouldn't be
Nine.
open
I don't
right
have
now.
any
So-
problem.
She wasn't there today.
Just so
Yeah,
you
she
guys
was out.
know,
Yeah, she was
I did let
sick.
Mary Jane know that her article she submitted to Andrew and I today we will take as a placeholder. So whether she needs to have a petition for this, or you guys will just accept the article,
So this wasn't presented to you tonight because you were taking over all considerations on Wednesday at that meeting. So that's why no articles that were submitted to me were being presented tonight.
When did we receive that, though? I thought you said you sent that last
See
week.
this at
No,
three,
it opened up
3 o'clock this
September,
afternoon.
September.
Yeah.
12th through to September 19th, I have. Today I found out I have to maybe get to be
As-
sure.
As
the
we touched
100.
upon this evening, I would normally object to discussing this at all, because it wasn't on the agenda, except for the fact that you have brought this forward at several of our meetings before. So to me, this is old business. It's just out of place in the order of the meeting, but this is certainly old business we've discussed before. My opinion, I would be more likely to strike that bylaw than to modify the bylaw. No person shall play at ball or fly a kite or balloon, or throw stones or other missiles on any public street in the center village of town. This, as we said, is the bylaw from the 1800s. You know, this bylaw includes, we'd have to go back to all of our events in the commons where children have had balloons and find they're in violation of the law. It's an antiquated law, and I think we've discussed this before when I talked with you on the telephone. I was not in support then of modifying the bylaw, and I'm not now.
So you won't.
Okay. I would
What are
not.
your thoughts on it, Mr. Chase?
I don't have any problem putting it on. When I ran for the office, you know, one of the things I stated over and over was to make our town more accessible to the public, and that unless it was like a position regarding an individual or a strict political position, generally, I haven't involved in making people get signatures. I feel we're a small town, it's access to local government, and I
My-
usually just put it on. I don't have any problem putting it on. I don't know where I stand on it, but right at the moment, but I have no problem placing it there. I think it's fair to the people. I have another one here that came in that somebody mentioned to me as well, so, but it's up to, you know.
This is what not to interrupt, a safety issue for the children, to keep the children out of the streets is what it says, and to play on grass, to play in parks, not to play in the street. I have someone up there where I live that's directing them to play in the street because of where the hoop is.
Yeah.
Directing them because of the way that they have to play in the street. I'm trying to say,
Yeah, I understand that.
follow
I'm just
this through
talking.
Barry.
Yeah, right
and
now,
South
we're just
Barry.
talking about the warrant itself, and that's the issue right at the moment, is to place it on the warrant.
Right.
I don't have any problem just doing
It's
it.
the safety of, that's an article
Yeah,
of
if you wanna
safety
bring it
for
up,
the warrant.
that's my opinion, you know.
What is your thinking on it, Mr. Urban? We have a no, we have a yes, or we have a maybe, or we have a,
I would support putting it on the warrant, but personally, I would also fight it when it came to the town meeting, because I wouldn't agree with it personally. But I wouldn't stop you from putting it on the warrant and let the town make the choice.
I will not
So
object.
then
It's
I
not
don't
for me
have
to
to
make
have-
the decision.
I
So
will
then
not
I don't
object to a
have-
placeholder either.
Huh?
I will not object to a placeholder.
So, we won't prevent you, we would put that on the town warrant.
so, in other words, the second part of it is that I don't have to get the other 50 signatures.
I don't believe the three of us are gonna stop you. Correct. We're not gonna use the lack of signatures as a reason why you can't.
So I can end it right here and wait until November 14th?
Yeah,
To get on the warrant, yes.
yeah.
We'll-
To win the vote, you may not wanna end it. You may wanna continue to go talk to the public, because
But what that means is.
you may or may not get the support you're looking for at the meeting.
We will
These
have,
people,
we will
I
have a
spoke to-
placeholder on the warrant, which means you can place an article on there. It's still up to you to write that article.
That is the
Yeah, we
article.
received the article.
Yeah, they got
That is
the
the
article.
It's up to you to file the language in.
We
That
would
is the
need-
language,
okay.
that is it.
We would need the
Okay.
motion as well when it comes closer.
Yeah, it's pretty, yeah, but
Okay.
What else do I need besides this? I don't understand.
When we
This
get
is-
closer, you would have to write the motion.
yeah, well,
The
This, I
motion pretty
believe-
much is,
Have you
you
seen this
will
at all?
present this to the town, saying this is what you want.
From the moderator, Mr.
it's right here,
Cranston?
just say.
Moderator will
would
give you the
say-
floor to come up and say, I wanna change the bylaw,
I
such
make-
and
I
such.
move.
I
Do
move that
this.
the town of
Yeah.
Barry.
Well, yeah.
She's
vote
got
to
it written
amend
right
the
here anyway,
bylaw,
Tyler wrote it.
Chapter
for her.
80,
I
section
moved it to
4.
town.
Alright, so somebody,
She's got
From
it,
this to this, and you
she's
write
got
it
it
in
written
your-
here anyway.
Yeah, but you just have to put it in a form, if you've gone to the meetings, how it's presented to the town. Then that's your chance to tell the town what you're asking them to do, and then let's start discussion. And as I said, I would not support it as far as my recommendation to change it, but as Charlie and both said, we won't stop you from bringing it forward to make your request.
Mhm.
It's everyone's town, not ours, and everyone gets their opinion in it, so.
This is just so that the people have the chance to vote on whether or not they
Correct.
would
That's
like
correct.
to
But you
keep
need-
the article and then.
exactly,
Yeah.
we
change
support
it.
the town should have the chance to vote
If,
on it.
if you look at
That's
the
all that's
language,
asking for.
if you look
Right.
at the language of some of the other warrants, the old books that we send out, the warrant books at annual town meeting, that will show you the language and how you should read it.
Yeah, you're pretty close to having it written,
Right.
so. Yeah.
When we get close,
And then when
We
we
can
get
work-
closer,
Yeah, we'll get-
we'll
we'll-
actually
we'll get
vote
it.
to put things on the
I
warrant.
can't work on it any better than it is right here.
no, I meant the final presentation of how you read what you're gonna present to the
I don't know who I'm
town.
gonna be going to in order to get that, to understand that.
What?
I've gone to what I
We'll
believe.
work on just
maybe-
the standard, it's
Yeah.
just like you take that and you put like one sentence before it and one sentence after. It's not a big deal,
Yeah, you
Mayor.
just-
I move that the town of Barry vote to amend the code of Barry, then refer to your chapters.
Yeah, and then you end it or take any action in relation thereto. That's all you gotta do.
And do I go to Ellen Glidden to do this?
She can help you, or
She can help you do it.
or we can help.
And I do not need these signatures.
No.
I'd hang on to them, but
Yeah, it
you
doesn't hurt
might
to
want
It
have
doesn't
them.
do any good because it's not on the
Well, you
right
might
paper.
want them for, if you're building support for the town meeting vote, you might want to keep the
I
list.
can't go back to these people, I don't even know really who they are or
well-
where they came from.
Well, anyway,
These are-
you get what I'm
These
saying.
are voters, and these are people that said, I agree with
When
you,
you-
we should have a right
Right.
to ask yes or no. That's
And
what they
when you stand in
said.
front of the, when you stand in front of the town, people will ask you questions on it.
Fine, I have all the answers.
And that, they'll look
As far
for
as
your
I'm
answers,
concerned.
and that will be your supporting documents. You've had 50 people sign for support.
No, I will get the rest of the 100 if it's gonna be better. I
Again,
intend to
that's
do
not
tomorrow
necessarily a
until
signature
5
to
o'clock.
support, it's a signature to support it being on the warrant.
Right, support it on the warrant.
And so, and I only say that because I don't know those individuals that signed, and I wouldn't want to misrepresent it just here at the table, that's why I'm saying it that way.
It was said to them that this is so that people can vote at the annual town meeting or the special town
Exactly.
meeting in November 14th.
And
So
that's
that we
exactly what
can
it accomplished.
Vote yes or no. That's what it was
Okay.
said. And are you a Barry resident? Yes. Are you a voter? Yes. Those are the names. The others
Okay.
from Connecticut and all the other 100 people that I spoke to, I could not use because they were not from Barry, they were not voters.
Right.
They were either Barry, no, I'm not a voter, no, I'm not from Barry, no, I just moved from New York, no, I came from Florida. These are not the only people that I spoke to today at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
I like some peace on my
I
road.
make a
I want some
motion
peace on my road.
to approve her request to put this on the special town meeting ballot on the warrant.
Do I have a
The
second?
motion.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. And I had one other one that involved, somebody approached me on a zoning change. I think what we may wanna do is put that to the annual. It's gotta go through a whole bunch of things anyway.
Yeah, you need a
It's gotta go.
planning board.
What?
You need a
Yeah.
planning board recommendation on
Yeah.
that, so.
I don't discuss that. I don't want it to make that a, okay.
I've had discussions with people about placing a new code on the warrant, which would address recalled selectmen and make restrictions on the re-entry into public positions. I don't know how many signatures they've gathered, and if they're gonna make it on time
Mhm.
for the article, but I'd like a placeholder on for that, so we can review it and see if it's something we're gonna put through. It would be called, it was a motion to amend the code for the town of Barry by adding a section titled recalled officers. And that would, it was outlining actions to be taken from results of recall
Mhm.
and enforcement thereof. So I would like to make a motion
Okay.
to have a placeholder for that. And possibly review by council if it comes in, if we wanna.
Yeah,
So we made a motion.
okay.
Second the motion for the placeholder for similar reasons.
Mhm.
Allow the town the voice.
Okay. Here, discussion, further discussion? Hearing now, call for a vote in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, thank you. Does anybody else have anything to come before this great and ponderous board tonight? Hearing nothing, I'll look to the appropriate motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second, quickly, thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.